Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 130. I'm here with my co-facilitator, Lionel.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today? How you doing today, Mike?
Good brother yourself.
I am well. Thanks for asking.
Okay, so for those of you who want to follow along, there is a docket in the description beneath the video. Please hit the like button as you come in, and we will get started on this glorious MLK Day.
Yes, yes.
Share my screen. So the first item on the docket is biotech startups using more affordable spaces. Read the description below. With its white coats and high-tech laboratories, the world of biotechnology has long been at the forefront of drug research, but now a project in London is offering startups an entry into the industry and beyond. And it's in the most unusual places, as Naweed reports. So, what they've done in this video, what they're covering is basically that they've repurposed these shipping containers at a certain lot within the city of London, and they've turned them into biotech research facilities. Um, Basically, these containers are isolated from the rest of the environment, so it makes it perfect for doing biotech research. Um, and these startup companies who want to find this sort of secure um, housing or secure real estate can actually utilize these shipping containers. So it makes it perfect for the startup sector in biotech. I know you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, it's pretty, from the looks of it, it not only is just a good idea, it shows that it works. With this, you reduce your overhead, paying an exorbitant amount of rent and other things that with this idea are not there. You don't have to pay for. So you can really focus on the idea and the innovation that they're doing instead of worrying about the rent for the facility or so forth. Um, I want to say that with this, an example of the decentralization of big companies, but it's not really. It's more of a simplicity. You don't need these big buildings and big labs to do this. You just need somewhere that's safe and secure. You can do it and get to it. This is it. Well, saying
Yeah. What you gonna say?
I'm not saying that this is it, but this is one example of the simplicity that you need. Um, the simple things you need to do whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A shipping container is only about $1,000. So now you're talking about 1/10 of the cost of someone's salary or even the cost of a startup. Um, is being utilized on the real estate. So when you think about what it costs for a basic office, that can be very expensive. That's you're talking anywhere between you know uh, 5 to even $80,000 a month for real estate space, depending on how much square footage you're talking about. But if you're talking about the square footage of 500 to 600 square feet, that's actually more than enough for a startup. It's only about 3 or 4 people. You got a laptop, you got a Wi-Fi connection, and you got your little laboratory setup, and it's enclosed. It's the perfect place for any sort of tech startup.
Yeah, it is. It is, and you only need the people that you need. No, have to pay no cleaning company. It's really bare bones.
Yep. We get to our next video or item on the docket. So next item on the docket is from CGTN, and this one is 2019 Geek Park. It's a traditional, well, not a traditional event, but a exclusive event in China uh, for quote unquote geeks. And what they're going over is a lot of the new inventions that they're working on for common places or common spaces, um, just for 2019 alone. Not even 2018. They're talking about 2019. So this year. I know. Did you see anything on this that you that stood up to you particularly?
I found it was interesting. Nothing I saw blew my mind. Um, in this clip that we're looking at, he is part of ThinkPad and the Think Plus um, items that he showed around. You had where you can turn off the light. Um, did the audio was the audio in and out for you, or was it just me?
It was for everybody.
Okay,
I
all
think
right,
that's typical of.
all right. Because this part, which is this part, which was a good part of the video, I
Mhm.
I understood kind of understood what he was getting at. I was really looking at the items. This way, the camera, he's saying that the boss can see when people check in, check out. You know, really keep an eye on people. Other parts of the video they show a what was it? Yeah, go kart, like an electric go kart. It looks nice. I think Complex Design get a kick out of that. Also, they showed like a wall of geekdom, past history. Then remember some the other things they showed also. It's like a robot. Yeah, nothing. Like I said, nothing in particular stood out to me.
So a part of this event is about joining. Is about taking devices and making them harmonized.
Okay.
And this Think Plus area, basically, they had um, the webcam or the surveillance cam was actually used for facial recognition um, as well as you can't see it in this video, but there's a container on the desk, a computer container. Looks like a trash can, but it's actually a air quality monitor, so it can determine the pollution factor within the environment itself while you're working, and then all of that data gets collected, and it determines the performance of the employee itself.
Okay. That's what that was for. I just thought I seen that because he said, the red mean is bad. I just thought that it was for having uh, a clean but I didn't know the extra reasoning behind it.
Yeah, right. Because China has a lot of pollution, so
They
that's what they're
did
trying
mention,
to. Yeah, that's what they're trying to address.
yeah, they did mention they was in Beijing. Okay, okay. All right, yeah, because like I
Hmm.
said, the audio, I was trying to follow along, but okay, I get that part now.
Hmm.
All right, with the pollution, it makes sense to have that there to test the quality of the air and the work environment that you're in
Hmm.
to, and that would impact productivity in the worker, because if you're breathing in all these harmful chemicals and pollution, your energy starts to wane down, and it's harder for you to really get motivated because your body is,
I mean,
huh?
no, I was just gonna say you may not make it through the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Carbon monoxide poisoning or something like that.
yeah. Because your body is working to filter that out, and you trying to work on a project. It's hard to get motivated and be very productive in the environment.
Hmm. Yep. And they have the random wall that basically is a timeline of all the geek gadgets that came out over the last 200 years,
Mm,
including the camera. The first initial camera came out in the late 1800s. Um, and other things as well. So
yeah. After this, they showed the electric bike, and it looked nice. They didn't use it. It looked nice. Like I said, I think complex design would get a kick out the up design of that. But after
mhm.
the electric go kart, I think it's some pretty interesting things that they showed. Oh, the
It's
phone with
actually turnkey.
oh, this one right here.
It's a turnkey electric go kart, so you can buy it in pieces and put it together,
Oh,
um, based on based on your need for speed, I guess.
mhm, okay. It's like a build a cart type of deal.
Right. It's more like a customized computer. You can just take whatever parts that they have available that's compatible, and then put it together. Different type
So
of batteries, different type
you
of
can continuously
motor.
upgrade it.
Yes,
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
but it's electric, right? It's electric, so it passes emissions.
That's pretty cool. I see them charging it.
Now
As soon as,
I don't know.
go ahead.
No, I don't know if I'll ever be able to fit on it. I'm 6'4", so.
Yeah, yeah, you can't talk, man. And to be honest, I think it's. You know what? I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna be racist, but I I saw it surge protector, which means you can bring it in the house, plug it up. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Now they did have
That's
a
like,
phone that had
go ahead.
a front and back screen. That
Okay.
was pretty nice.
I thought that dude getting in it was slow change. Biometric door lock.
Yeah. Oh, now this door lock, I wouldn't get nothing like that because
Why not?
I understand the safety of it because it's biometric, but if something
Right.
goes wrong, it acts up, then that would annoy me. That would highly annoy me that I'm standing out trying to get in the house, and it seems like when things go wrong is when it's raining, it's cold, it's hot, you got stuff in your hands, and the door lock don't want to work. That would highly annoy me.
Well, the thing is that it could actually connect to your it could connect to your phone or your smartwatch, and it can open up that way, based on proximity.
Okay, well, okay, all right. Now the biometric part, you know,
It has a physical key. It has a
okay.
physical key.
Oh well,
If you watch the video again, it has a physical key too. So in case it fails.
okay, well, okay. Now, okay, all right. Now that okay, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Yeah, these things these few these next few gadgets they kind of blew through, but this phone right here, that front and back, it's novelty. I like the novelty in it, but I just don't see the mass production of it. It's kind of cool.
Hmm. Yeah, that's something that dual screen. That's something that Apple should be looking at, right? That's the Chinese or Southeast Asia is basically beating Apple to the punch in terms of technological innovation. So
Yeah, I'm starting to realize Apple is not really being innovative these days. They are really digging themselves in the ditch. Now, this is the robot I was talking about. What's the
your mic broke up a lot. Can you repeat that again?
I was saying this is the robot, right? Significance with this robot.
Yes, it's more of a personal assistant.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha. I mean, they got some cool things. It's not what they showed us. Obviously, it's not the entire um, everything that was there, but it's not like what they showed us was. Okay, it was hum ho. It's impressive that these are the products they're working on for this year. So
Right. I think that pocket camera is actually pretty slick too.
hmm
Um,
imagine they had that attached to it. Well, imagine if they operated a drone, like a small drone or something.
and they went over the Microsoft Surface as well. So that was
Yeah.
the last item on the docket. What's going on, Preem?
So how you doing today, Brain?
I'm doing freaking great, man. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Hanging in there, bro.
What? You're hanging in there in this country?
Oh my goodness.
Come on, man. Come on. Got to be doing better than that, bro.
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. So, you have anything you want to add to the from a commentary perspective?
Not on this one. This one's a little bit above my pay grade. Not on this one.
All right. We're gonna skip to the next article then, or the next item on the docket. All right. This one is from Roland Martin's channel. It was posted about a week or so ago. So this is their AT&T Dreaming Black, HBCU, Morgan State, talking about dreaming big with engineering. They are creating a incubator within the HBCU itself, and they're getting down to the very bare metal of engineering, which is tinkering, and then it escalates up, and then they're talking about creating startups within the lab itself. So the way how I'm looking at this is that this is exactly where you want to be in terms of the fourth industrial revolution and learning. I wish I had something. I had something similar to this when I was in undergrad, but obviously they're going really really deep into it. But this is actually perfect. It's good to see that HBCUs are keeping up with the times.
Yeah, they need to keep up with the times because just teaching a lot of things is not gonna get um, put students in a good position during this fourth industrial revolution. You need to these liberal arts. It's not gonna cut it. Um, yeah, the tinkering thing I like. That's good. Like he said that when he was growing up, he tinkered, and not only did he say that they break things down, see how they work, but he also said they look at their weak parts also, which I thought that was a good input. I know he said that Mark Zuckerberg can be from there. I'm like, okay, well, that's social media. Let's work on some hardware design, something you can manufacture, something. But I'm if that was me and my tech incubator, I was okay. Let's focus on those aspects, breaking this hardware down, see how we can improve it, and see what we can make.
Cream, you have anything you want to add to this?
Uh, nope, nope. Congratulations to the HCBUs or HBCUs. Is that how you say HB? Historically Black College? Yeah, HBCUs. Big ups to them. Good deal. Good deal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you in the chat who haven't watched this, take some time after the hangout to actually watch it. It's actually a very good interview.
Yeah, the interview went well.
Hmm. Let's get to the next item on the docket. AI-equipped cameras will help spot wildlife poachers before they can kill. A new camera developed by nonprofit Resolve uses Intel technology to keep watching in Serengeti. Elephants are proverbially hard to miss, but even with these huge beasts can be swallowed up in the vast plains of Africa. This is a big problem for park rangers whose job is to protect the animals from poachers. In the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, for example, there are just 150 rangers responsible for safeguarding an area of land roughly the size of Belgium. A new solution to this proposed by the conservation nonprofit Resolve is to use AI-equipped cameras to act as remote lockouts or lookouts. Today, Resolve announced a new custom-made device called TrailGuard AI, which uses Intel-made vision chips to identify animals and humans that wander into view. The cameras will be placed an access trails access trails used by poachers, automatically alerting park rangers who can check up on suspicious activity. TrailGuard AI builds on past work by Resolve to create remote cameras to aid in conservation. However, early devices were bulky, had limited battery life, and were unsophisticated, sending images to rangers every time their motion sensors were tripped. This resulted in lots of false positives as the cameras would be triggered by non events, such as the wind shaking the tree branches. The new device, by comparison, is no thicker than a human index finger, has a battery life of a year and a half, and can reliably identify humans, animals, and vehicles. The chip used by Resolve is Intel's Movidius Myriad 2 VPU, Vision Processing Unit, which is the same technology that powered Google's automatic Clips camera. Eric Dynestein, director of biodiversity and wildlife solutions at Resolve, compared the cameras to an intelligent sentinel. Dynestein said in a press statement that, quote, AI-driven smart cameras will help park rangers identify poachers and stop them before they can kill. This is not the first time we've seen AI's potential in combating poaching, though. The object recognition powers of machine learning are a natural fit for surveillance and conservation work, and researchers have used AI to predict where poachers will strike by studying databases of past hunts. This is interesting. What's your take on this, Lionel?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say a month and a half ago, we did an article about this. How I think it was the same company where they were using blockchain to um, track track poachers. I think it was the same company, and we mentioned then how IoT can come into play in terms of helping them track poachers.
Hmm.
Blockchain is more of an enabling technology, which allows IoT, autonomous driving, AI, machine learning to learn. So now with these devices, like they said, they refine them. They're able to make them work in a more positive way instead of sending out false positives, which means they're able to track poachers. And to me, to be life uh, for doing this, because in the article it said that if this trend goes on, then elephants will be extinct within the next, what, 10, 20 years? It's like an elephant is killed every 15 minutes. So with these IoT devices that they have, that they uh, refine, they're able to catch poachers, uh, a better chance to catch poachers. Now we all know if the if good is have devices to catch criminals better, the only thing criminals are going to do is to figure out ways to avoid it. But it's a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Preem, you have anything you want to add to this?
No. Like you said, I think we this looked like something similar to what we you guys have put up there about a month or two ago. Um, yeah, to try to rein in the poachers. Good stuff.
Yeah, they could actually use drones to actually track all the animals. One drone could track, a dozen or so animals, or a dozen elephants in this matter. So you put up enough drones, you put up a a kite. If you put up a kite, 1,000 feet up, that could actually capture a good wide range of landscape, and it can actually track a lot of these elephants. I'm surprised they haven't thought of that yet, but it's one of those things that the problem with poaching is that it's really Southeast Asia that's really paying the big bucks for this. Vietnam, Cambodia. Um, a lot of these guys are tycoons in some areas, either oil or some other area. Um, Organ trafficking. These guys are willing to pay big bucks because it's prohibited. Once you remove the prohibition, then that allows for the price of the value of the tusk that they're looking to take from the elephant, the ivory, to plummet. In the same way, alcohol in the United States, when it was prohibited, you had a lot of violence that was behind that. Once the prohibition was removed, and you had liquor stores set up, the violence went away almost immediately. So I think the same thing can happen with poaching. There has to be some form of actually international investigations, either with Interpol or the AU, or even Black people in America could actually get involved in this, because there's a lot of Black people in America who have legal background as well as law enforcement background that can actually track people down and things of that nature. There's so many opportunities to be created out of all of this. So that's my take on it.
I think I got kind of my question was, okay, what's the difference between this and the current technology, what they use for flipper and dolphins and whales and whatnot? They're currently tracking, animals in the ocean. So how is this better or different or cleaner tech?
Because it has to be narrowed down, right? When we were reading the article, one of the problems that they found was that the cameras were picking up a lot of false positives, and that became a problem. So instead of having all these false positives, they had to narrow it down, the technology down to just looking at just elephants and humans, and actually, using the AI to use for predictability of where the next poacher is going to go, right? Based on the location of the elephants. With dolphins and other sea mammals, it's a little bit different because the ocean is way too vast and they go way too deep and things of that nature. You really can't keep track of them like that. If you think about Japan in there, whaling and shark hunting and things like that, illegal poaching of whales and sharks and stuff like that. They even most conservation agencies have a hard time keeping Japan from doing these illegal activities. And the Japanese government is not going to play well anyways with outside forces. So there's ways of doing this. I know I mentioned blockchain and IoT. You can use basic RFID tags on the cheap, or you can actually put pacemaker style devices inside of an elephant as a way to monitor the health. Because if the health is declining, then that's where poachers are going to go, right? They're going to go for this, the low hanging fruit. But there also has to be prosecution. There has to be prosecution behind it as well. So you can't just let these guys board planes back to Vietnam, back to China, back to Japan, and these other places. With elephant tusks, there has to be more robust national security and actually continental security for the African continent, because a lot of that stuff, there's a lot of ways that you can get the illegal the tusk off the continent itself, whether it's by plane or it's by boat or it's by vehicle. There's too many variables in the way, and there's not enough people. There's only 150 rangers to cover all this stuff.
I mean, honestly, are the Africans really, really, honestly, really, for the most part, trying to stop this?
Yes, because if you lose your elephants, you lose your other animals, it messes up your ecosystem. And once your ecosystem starts to decay, then you're screwed.
That is true. Okay.
I mean, you lose a whole elephant over 2 tusks. That seems rather an egregious way of doing business. I guess in reference to animals on the continent, especially ones that are limited, right?
Yeah, but again, if it's between that elephant, going and his, that tusk going to that Chinaman, and me with no shoes on my feet, lining my pockets, with a whole lot of money. I'm not saying me per se. I'm just, saying the average guy there on the ground, the average ranger, the average whatever, the average person at the air traffic control at the airport or whatever. They just, they get a brown paper bag. They're gonna look the other way.
Well, Prince, you got to understand.
Right. It's Africans that are actually partaking in this, right? So in order for that to happen, it's the Africans on the ground, doing some of the poaching and some of the trafficking. So the idea here is how do you break up these sort of trafficking rings?
I mean, what's the better deal? I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, the ecosystem goes down. Yeah, it's a bad thing. Yeah, but what's the better deal? What's the better incentive for the guy on the ground who's making illegal money doing this stuff? I mean, what's his better deal? It's got to be more than, it's going to save the ecosystem, because at the end of the day, man, between the ecosystem and my here and now, I'm going to take what's in my best interest in my here and now.
Go ahead, Lionel.
Well, I was going to say, it's not like you can have hundreds of people that are everyday people living in an environment partaking in this. There's a number of people that are in this ring. So the people that are in this ring, what you're proposing is you have all these people that are not making money, fit $5 a day or so forth, but all those people cannot participate in this. So you're going to have a limited number of people, and to me, in my opinion, to curb that, the penalty for this has to be high. You can't just say, well, the penalty is a month or just pay the bill. No, in my opinion, you have to say life, because what you're doing is potentially harming that ecosystem. That's in my opinion, that's one way you can curb this, and it's making the penalty very steep.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. This next article is from nextweb.com. How IoT enabled scooters and bikes and cars are making streets safe. The flurry of anti-dockless electric scooter headlines reached critical mass last summer. Quote, "This town seriously hates electric scooters," screamed the link to the story focused on Santa Monica, California. San Francisco is fighting the scooter trend with poop and vandalism, blared another. There's even an Instagram account devoted to images of destroyed rideshare scooters, and of course, bike share bashing is old news by now. Chalk it up to predictable initial backlash to disruptive technologies. The, the ironic truth is that these non traditional two wheeled machines are redefining urban transportation and, along, along with ongoing innovations in autonomous vehicles and evolving connected city technologies, will dramatically influence the re-engineering of city infrastructures to address such issues as traffic congestion, community safety, energy usage, and how to maneuver through the last mile. Dockless, dockless electric scooters and bike shares, both electric and traditional human-powered machines, are, after all, Internet of Things devices. They and the riders' smartphones that activate them continuously generate data from integrated sensors, which are transmitted to the systems of the companies that own them. Information regarding the location of each connected bicycle, how long each ride takes, which docks need to be restocked, and which ones are full is always available in real time. New York City bikes. New York City bike makes. I don't know why there's a. I don't know what that is. Okay. New York City bike makes its system data publicly available and invites developers, engineers, statisticians to use it for analysis, development, and visualization. The more open we make these technologies and data, the more we'll be able to make better decisions related to transportation and municipal infrastructures. The idea is continuously streamed data collected from connected bikes and scooters will become integral components of a fully functional and responsive interconnected grid that can process big data unprecedented in its volume, velocity, and variability. The grid will also serve as a hub for similar mobility data types collected from sensors and hardware embedded with autonomous and traditional vehicles. Uh, public, trans- Public transit systems, transportation grids, law enforcement networks, healthcare facilities, weather monitors, and on and on. At its most functional level, the mobility data will produce more focused insights related to fleet management, heavily trafficked corridors, peak commute times, and other transit metrics to enhance the major benefits of the connected city, streamline traffic management, and more efficient city design. In the U.S. alone, congestion cost $305 billion last year, an increase of $10 billion from 2016, according to the transportation consulting firm INRIX. Uh, I don't want to read this whole entire thing, but if you guys get a chance, you should actually read it. It's actually a really good article. It touches on a lot of use cases and technologies that we actually cover. I know. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
Okay, now what's this article stating? I understand how it was stating the anti ride scooter push has waned a little bit, and it touched on the first mile last mile problem. Now, some of the article were they saying that they can actually use these scooters to bring back data on traffic and other things?
Yeah. So we talked about this on Saturday's Hangout. For those who haven't were listening to this and don't know what we're talking about, we had a Black Tech Hangout on Saturday about, or actually, 2 Saturdays ago about IoT. But the if the scooters and the bikes and things like that are going in a certain direction around certain times and whatnot, all of those devices, those rides are actually generating data at a certain time, and what that does is um, it allows people who want that data to actually create context for traffic management. So if you have 20 different scooters, 20 different electric bikes, and things like that going down a single road or multiple avenues in New York, that can determine what the traffic flow is because the scooters and the bikes would stop at a certain point. So if the scooters and whatnot are riding consistently, then that tells you that the traffic is actually doing well, right? And then that can you can update Google Maps, you can update Waze, you can update multiple platforms. Even if the traffic lights were IoT enabled, they that can determine whether or not they should be red, yellow, or green.
I got you. I got you now. Now I understand. That's a good use case. It's a multifaceted use case. Instead of just getting people to and fro, they can actually, like you said, use this information to find out how the traffic is going. That's good. That's good. I like that.
Same thing with Google Maps. Google Maps would probably, if you were leaving for work and the bus was late or you missed the bus, it can probably tell you based on the data that was collected from all the scooters and ride sharing bikes that there's actually a scooter, but that's about 10 feet away from you around the corner or connected to this pole right here. And if you unlock it, that will probably beat your time to work than waiting for the next bus.
Mm, okay. So it'll also give the time based on how fast or the scooters may go. Let you know. Well. Now that I said, it's Google Maps have that already. Okay, I got you. I got
Yep. Yep. So good article if you guys watching this want to read it, should actually read it. It's pretty good.
you. Mm-hmm. You got anything on the brain?
No, I lost connectivity there. I had to restart, reboot. Nope.
Okay.
All right. Reuters.com. Ford and IBM among Quartet and Congo Combo Cobalt blockchain project. Car maker Ford, technology giant IBM, South Korean cathode maker LG Chem, and China's Huayu or Huayu Cobalt have joined forces in the first blockchain project to monitor cobalt supplies from Democratic Republic of Congo (DRC). The pilot, overseen by Responsible Sourcing Group (RCS Global), aims to help manufacturers ensure that cobalt used in lithium-ion batteries has not been mined by children or used to fuel conflict. Companies are under pressure from consumers and investors to prove that minerals are sourced without human rights abuses, but tracking raw materials through their journey is challenging. The project is announced on the project announced on Wednesday has been quietly underway since December, starting with industrially mined cobalt in Congo. It is monitoring supplies all the way to lithium-ion batteries for Ford vehicles. Supplies of cobalt expected to be needed in huge quantities for electric vehicles and electronic devices are concentrated in Congo, a sprawling, volatile nation that has been racked by civil war and political tension. The outcome, the outcome of elections in December, which has been intended to be Congo's first democratic transfer of power in 6 decades, is contested. RCS says the IBM blockchain platform could be used to include other minerals and to allow artisanal miners, which analysts say are the biggest issue with regard to ethical sourcing, to join blockchain-based network of validated participants. Blockchain, famed as technology behind the cryptocurrency Bitcoin, works by providing a shared record of data held by a network of individual computers rather than a single party. For the pilot project, which should be completed around the middle of the year, cobalt from Huayu's industrial mine will be placed in secure bags, entered into a blockchain, and traced from the mine and smelter to LG Chem's cathode and battery plant in South Korea, and then on to a Ford plant in the United States. Because minerals are often combined with metals from various sources when they are smelted, they are particularly difficult to track. The RCS project seeks to enforce best practice by using guidelines drawn up by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. IBM said it was exploring the potential of chemical analysis using artificial intelligence to pinpoint the origin of cobalt and ensure so-called clean cobalt was not smelted with minerals sourced less responsibly. Quote, there is no foolproof method, but you have to keep the ball moving forward to keep raising the level of accuracy. Manish Chalwa, general manager of IBM's mining and industrial sector business, told Reuters, blockchain has been proven to be very effective technology in raising the bar. IBM has already worked with retailers, including Walmart and Carrefour, to trace food through supply chains. In the mining sector, meanwhile, Anglo Americans, what a name, the Bears has begun using blockchain to track diamonds. I know you have anything you want to add to this?
Few things. When I read the article, I couldn't help but think, oh, that's how they do it. That's how they're going to do it. Put it in the bags, put tags on it, and track it to their place of smelting facilities. I thought about that, but then I like that they are. I'm gonna mute up real quick.
Yep. Yeah, what the blockchain is going to do for the for the minerals is actually going to secure the bag, so to speak. Although it's going to be interesting to see how they separate those particles, those minerals from other various metals that's going to be included into it. Because once you dig it up out the ground and you put it on a truck and so on and so forth, that stuff has to be separated and sourced out. So how do you do that? It's going to be interesting. I want to say that this is going to drive up the price of cobalt significantly, more so because it's authenticated now, and the amount of effort that goes into it is going to make the price significantly higher. The reason why it's cheap now, for what at least relative to what the market value is because you do have child miners, you do have illegal mining going on, and so there's a black market that's allowing it to get to the market quicker without being inspected, as well as these child miners who are only getting paid 25 cents a day.
Yeah, that's a good point because, like they mentioned, the De Beers with the gold, with the diamonds, they have a monopoly on diamonds, and diamonds, like they say, diamonds are intrinsically worthless. They have this hoard of diamonds, but because they control the supply, they're able to name their price. So with the cobalt, like you mentioned, once they're able to control the supply and install this supply line in place and prove that we have resources from a reputable source. And the article also mentioned the like the spectral device that shows if it's pure cobalt and it's not impure or so. With with those things in place, like you mentioned, they're able to control the price of cobalt. So that's a good point you hit on.
It's good. It's good for maybe Africa, but what happens when what happens if you're Apple? If you're Apple and you have to come out with the next iPhone or the next iPad, that iPad might cost you $2,500, or that iPhone might cost you $2,000 because the price has gone up on the material to build the batteries.
Now, with some of these companies in China, and I'll just say China, they are able to don't they go get the raw material to build these phones also?
What do you mean?
So say like Samsung and their phones. Well, Samsung is a Korean. Let's say I was about to say Huawei. They
Hmm.
don't they actually source the material? Aren't they involved in the supply line of the actual raw minerals from Africa to China or South Korea?
They are to a certain extent. So what some of these companies do is they cheat the battery. So your first 90 days you might get really good battery life, and you can charge it up really quickly, quick charging and all these other features. But what happens after a certain amount of time, that battery capacity starts to decay really fast because it was cheap to begin with. So they're filling the batteries up with these various other metals in order to pump up the battery life. Basically, is the batteries have become synthetic. The
Yeah.
design has become synthetic. So you have all this battery capacity, but it's not really going to be long lasting after a few years.
Now, what I was getting at in terms of Samsung and Huawei and Apple, Apple is
Mhm.
not involved in the supply line. Apple doesn't have any people on the ground with saying,
We
"Hey,
don't know that.
okay, true, good point." Now, okay, let's say they don't involved in the supply line on the same level as these South Korean Chinese companies. And to your point, where Apple have to potentially increase their product, the price of their products, that can
Mhm.
push Apple to make drastic changes if they don't, change this deal.
Well, yeah. Well, Apple may not compromise that much, but they will pay a hefty price because they have to. I mean, they already had one battery fiasco already, right? So if another one comes up in the next year or so, because of the quality of the battery has been degraded, that can destroy the company's reputation. They don't want another fiasco happening on their hands, so they may end up having to pay that high price.
For pure cobalt.
Right, for the purity of that cobalt. Now, the Congo isn't the only place that has cobalt. Russia has it, and it's been rumored for a long time that North Korea has it. So, which is probably why you see the United States trying to make peace with them, because if they can get it, um, if they can get it cheaply out of North Korea, then that's a game changer, right? Um,
Right.
and then you have it in Argentina, and then you have it in in the United States in Salt Lake City, or not Salt Lake City, but Nevada. Not Nevada. Sorry, Utah.
Okay. Now I understand how this ties in with geopolitics. Um, how is America's relations with Argentina?
It's good now. Now that they have a right wing person in power.
Okay. And okay, I see outside of America minus on cobalt. I see America strengthening ties with Argentina because it's easier compared to Russia, North Korea, and other countries outside of Africa that have cobalt as a natural resource. But I don't want to get into the geopolitics of oh yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm looking at this article in a deeper way now.
Right, right. So this is absolutely going to drive up the cost of the goods. So don't be surprised that the next iPhone that comes out, is $2,000, or next iPad or the next MacBook Pro is going to be $3,000 or $4,000.
I'm not getting that. That's entirely too much because now these phones are starting to cost the same amount as these iPads and MacBook Airs cost 2, 3 years ago.
Hmm. Mhm.
That's come on, no, no, no.
Well, I mean, if you're an Apple customer, you're accustomed to paying high prices anyway, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
I'm an Apple
But if
customer,
you're an
and I'm not paying that high
if
price.
you if you're an Android customer, if you've been buying Android phones for 20, 25, $30, then you're expecting to keep paying that price. And the thing about Android phones is that they have um, different sort of battery technology dumped into it because it's more affordable. So you may see um, all types of mixing of metals, right? Or mixing of raw minerals. They may take, let's say you have a grade of A, B, and C. The C grade materials actually go into those Android phones that are cheap,
Hmm.
and then Apple's willing to pay for the A grade stuff. But what happens is they pass on the cost to the customer, and that's where
Right
your price managers come from. But
now,
but if
with
if you're Apple and but if you're Apple and you're trying to compete with Huawei, who has B grade battery material inside the phone, and you're selling your phone does the same exact thing as an Apple at you know one one tenth of the not one tenth of the cost, but one third of the cost. It's hard for Apple to justify the sale of a phone,
yeah,
and they're losing out if they cut the price. They're going to be losing out, and shareholders aren't going to like that.
and this supply line can I see it actually having that ABC grade cobalt because you can once you have that spectral analysis included with that blockchain supply line, you can actually create that and charge more. Like you said, the price of cobalt is going to go up. Then you will have the different variations. Cobalt is pure, mixed a little bit. You know those at the ABC, like you mentioned. So yeah, yeah, we'll see. I see that it's going to be more competition, more cutthroat competition, and I think that you might see articles come out in the Wall Street Journal how Samsung is cheating their customers, and those articles may be paid for by affiliates of these companies that's trying to tear the other company down because they're losing profit.
And don't forget that all of these electric vehicles need these batteries too, right? So
Right,
they got
right.
first dibs on it, whether it's Tesla or it's GM or it's Ford. Like I mean, Ford's involved in this as well, right? They want access to the best battery material so that they can have these longer range electric vehicles.
Now I see Tesla actually building a plant in some of these areas that have cobalt instead of purchasing high cobalt just to cut um, the production. I see Tesla as that type of company, but you're right. You're right.
Yeah, they may you know Apple tends to put software or do software updates that reduce the battery life of the phone, right? So if they were doing that before, what's to say that they're not going to do it again?
Yeah, they did it to me.
Dollar Will in the chat says, "Why not make the battery easier to replace?" Because they don't want to. Every company seems to have a sealed battery, so that you have to go either upgrade another phone or pay exuberant amount of money for a new battery. Sorry. Um, and then he asked, "How much does the battery cost?" We really don't know because we don't know what Apple's really paying on the ground. We don't know what any of these companies are paying on the ground. I know that they pay big bucks for high grade materials, so they want to be the guy. They want to have the product marketed as, oh well, our battery on our phone gets you 10 hours of battery life. That means you can get through a basic workday without recharging. That sort of deal. So hey, what's going on, Swallow Chain?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good brother, good.
Yeah, yeah.
On to the next one. You had something you want to add?
I just joined in. Not yet. Not yet. I will move on to the next. You guys can move on to the next topic.
All right. All right. This one is from Engadget.com. Tesla hikes supercharger prices worldwide to reflect changing costs. Tesla's efforts to improve its bottom line go beyond layoffs and despairing perks. Electrek has learned that Tesla is raising supercharger rates around the world, with per kilowatt rates climbing about 33% in numerous markets. While it's still less impressive than gas, even the 36 cents per kilowatt hour in Southern California locations is modest. It's not quite the savings it represented in the past. According to Tesla, this is really a matter of adapting to financial realities. In the statement, Tesla said it was increasing prices to, quote, better reflect differences in local electricity costs and site usage. It added that it was still launching new supercharger stations on a weekly basis, and stressed that it didn't treat its EV chargers as a profit center. You might have seen this coming. Electricity isn't getting cheaper, and the rapid increase in number of Tesla cars on the road, particularly the Model 3, was going to increase the cost of operating a given supercharger. The company also has to think about the future. On top of dramatically expanding its coverage in 2019, it's planning to roll out its first super fast V3 superchargers. The money for those upgrades has to come from somewhere, and Tesla wasn't about to willingly take a hit when it's already trying to cut costs. So $920 million in debt. I think Preem had posted that last week. Tesla's not doing too well. What's your take on this, Preem?
Yo, this one is on 920 trillion debt, or on this one right here?
No, just this Tesla article.
They are raising their prices, correct?
Correct.
Correctamundo. And the reason why is I'm sorry, I was sidetracked.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We'll come back to you.
Oh, okay.
I know.
All right, so electric 2-3 weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago, we talked about electric and their fast charging, supercharging stations. I think 3 weeks ago, how they can charge, what's it, 30 minutes, and then they were going to charge like in the same amount of time you fill up your gas tank. Or I think we pontificated that. But needless to say, they had something good. Now Tesla is raising its prices. Obviously, we know why they're raising their prices is because they're trying to, not go out of business. They're trying to pay their debts. The article said it's still cheaper than, or was it gas? But still, who's to say that they won't raise their prices again after this point? I can't say too much other than that right now.
And if I understand it right, the supercharger is the charging station, right?
Right. That's where they plug up their cars to get the fast charge.
Okay. Something else I was seeing last week. I mean, this is nothing new, but if you take away the subsidy or the government kickback or whatever rebate that folks get, the cars are actually like $50,000 cars on the cheap end. So whatever it's, because they can't really make a car in that $30,000 to $40,000 sweet spot to where it can get adopted by the masses, without that subsidy being in there. And it's just it's a tough model, man. I mean, it's a tough model. Then just read a couple paragraphs in this thing to where if they're cutting back on perks, laying off people, got interest payments or balloon payments or debt payments coming due, and raising prices at the same time. Good God Almighty, that's tough, man. That's a squeeze. That's a squeeze.
Yeah, it's a squeeze, but that to us, that the writing's on the wall. They're gonna have to do something. We're gonna, in the next few weeks, we're gonna hear, oh, Tesla's doing this. They're gonna have to come up with something. They can't continuously operate us. They're hemorrhaging money so badly, and they're in debt so much. They're gonna have to do something. So we're gonna hear some news about Tesla.
See, the thing I think people forget about Tesla is that they're not a car company; they're a tech company first, before they're a car company, and they don't pump up enough volume in order to justify, their losses, right? So, I think I mentioned before, you have to pump at least 35 to 40,000 cars a month in order to, make profit. They're not doing it as it stands. They don't have the manufacturing capacity to do something like that. And it's not their fault. It's just that they have a very niche factor car. So they have a very niche factor sort of tools and availability for manufacturing process. On top of the fact that batteries are scarce. So because again, we talked about cobalt in the last article because of how the scarcity of cobalt. Well, it's plentiful in Africa, but the scarcity of actually mining it and actually getting it to the process is hard. So they have a hard time producing vehicles that's very affordable to the masses, like Preem was mentioning. So as long as there's no tax incentive to actually go out and buy this vehicle, then people aren't going to go out there and buy it.
Now, merger sounds good. It sounds good because they have the tech. Only thing they need is the mass manufacturing. Right now, a merger sounds good. I don't know how likely. Of course, Dollar Will would say in times like these, mergers and acquisitions become plentiful. But I don't know how deterrent that debt Tesla is in now from a merger. But now, a merger sounds good.
A merger would actually swallow Tesla in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You said a merger between who?
Between a car manufacturer that can produce their cars on a mass level because Tesla has the technology.
But the thing is, Tesla doesn't want to manufacture vehicles. They just want to license out the technology.
So that's
really how they see it.
So they'll sell their technology to a manufacturer as long as they get their royalty check.
Right. They can collect dividends that way.
That's fine. But right, they like you said, like you mentioned, they can't keep going on like this. They have great ideas. Nice car. It's the the Model S. It looks sexy. Then they had that truck they debuted it when they debuted the Roadster. I mean, they have the tech. It's obviously that they're trying to advance the tech with these gigafactories they're putting up. It's just that they can't manufacture the cars to a certain point,
Well, there's only so many people that can actually afford it too. So if you produced, 80,000 cars and you only had 20,000 people that can only afford it, then what's the point, right? You're going to lose value on those vehicles.
Yeah, I just want to second Mike with that too. Is that I don't care how many car Tesla produce. You know how if energy efficient those cars are. If there's not enough customer, like I said, a massive amount of customers to support that, you know, it's pretty much essentially pointless. So I hope that if Tesla will be able to find a way to make all the electric vehicle to be more affordable. You know, make it at least if the affordability can approaching the price range of, for example, your Toyota, that type of price range, then I would definitely. I don't think they will go through so much financial trouble right now.
Say the price of a large sedan, because I don't think I yeah, the price of a large sedan.
What about the price of a large sedan?
I was saying that car, the Tesla, will have to come down to a price of a large sedan.
Yeah, yeah.
Tesla is a premium brand. They're like Apple. People pay a big a pretty penny for Teslas because they're considered to be premium. They're considered to be up there with Mercedes and BMW.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they consider those cars to be premium made cars. So I don't know if you've ever been in one or you ever been up one close, but they're actually a one that's fully customized. Those are pretty, you know,
Okay.
those are very comparable to a Mercedes. Actually, they outsell Mercedes in California. So
Okay.
Well, this is in California because you got a lot of those. You have a lot more affluent individual. If anybody who can afford to live in California nowadays, are really consider relatively consider wealthy anyway. So that's why they will be able to do that. But if they want to popularize those vehicles itself, they have to find a pricing model that's at least appealing to the middle class. You know, so at least, well, not exactly not exactly as affordable as a Toyota, but at least they can make it affordable enough for people to not having people to go bankrupt over it.
yeah, I mean they have a certain amount of employees, right? I think they have like 2,000 employees or something like that. Whatever it is that they have, the first customers are going to be their employees because they're already paying them. So it's guaranteed that they're gonna, buy the Tesla.
By the way, speaking of Tesla, the what I found ironic is that Tesla, you know, the actual scientist himself, he would have found this to be abhorrent. He would have think that a free energy efficient vehicle is supposed to be available to everybody. That's why he tried to experiment with the so-called free energy experiment, you know, with the free energy, tapping into the free energy stuff. So I just found it a little bit ironic that they were such an unaffordable car actually has a scientist's name whose philosophy might be contradictory to the prices. Yeah,
Well,
because
I don't think Elon. Yeah, I don't think Elon Musk and Tesla has anything in common. So,
well, he named it, you know, so that's why.
all right, let me go to the next article. Next item on the docket is from New China TV. Incline parking lot is introduced in China. What do you think about this, Lino?
Um, it's a good way to cut down on space parking. Uh, how do they keep the car on the incline?
Your emergency brake is on.
Wouldn't that after a while, uh, tear at the emergency brake?
No.
Okay. I mean, from the video, you can fit a lot more cars. It's like you could fit 2 cars in one space.
Yeah, basically that's what it is.
Yeah. Uh, they are thinking. They are thinking of ways to cut it down because China they lifted 2 million people out of poverty, so a lot more cars on the street now. So they are thinking of ways to cut down on this. I will give them that.
Yeah, China's not stupid. They know that they're gonna have to start putting major excise taxes on all these cars in order to recoup, you know, revenue for the state itself.
That, hey, that yeah.
Hello.
Preem, you have anything you want to add to this?
Oh, okay. I thought it was muted. This the parking deck?
The vertical parking
Oh yeah,
or
the
the
vertical
incline parking.
incline. But you know, I guess. No, no, I got nothing.
Well, hmm. My biggest concern is, uh, that quality control. Just like any of those ambitious project, any of those ambitious technological project that uh, China has undertaken. My biggest concern is the quality control. Is a lot of time they only put up the appearances, but they sometimes they might try to cut corner in terms of monitoring the mechanical designs and all the other stuff. So I just hope that if the number one, the incline angles itself, if they can, basically my point is, if they can somehow optimize it in a way that without endangering the the motorist, and I'll be fine with it. I'm just concerned that how would they? I'm just concerned about the whole project itself. What quality, like I said, what quality control mechanisms they have built into it. Especially, and also the ongoing maintenance of it. Because a lot of time you can't just build it and let it sit. You have to maintain constantly. Which that's why a lot of time American infrastructure is kind of complex because of the lack of maintenance and so forth. So I think with Chinese government, they have to be careful with that too. Is that when they continue when they develop all these new novel construction project, they have to make sure they have a team. They will have a capable team to maintaining it.
Yeah, another thing, you best not, be leaving out the house, thinking you're gonna go straight to the cookie chill off. I mean the chili cook off rather, and be like, oh, hey, oh, damn, I gotta stop at this place really quick. Let me go into this damn garage. You go into the garage and they park your thing vertically, and you forget you got your chili in the trunk, and it goes all over the damn place.
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you spilled crap all over your
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's a paradise ship. I was gonna say.
That's right. I got the damn chili in the trunk.
Yeah, I think people people who need those spaces will pay a premium. They're not really so much as worried about that. I I'm looking at the design, and I see we have something similar in Boston. Very similar design at one of the parking garages, but I've never heard of anybody stoling anything in their trunk or anything like that.
Well,
But this is
think about it. What if I got a shit? It could be a thing of Starbucks coffee. I forgot it's in the armrest holder or something like that. You know.
Usually they make you take your stuff out. They make you take your stuff out.
You know,
Oh,
hey,
okay.
to be honest, like a canary in the coal mine, that these cities are getting too populated. We hear, especially me, I see stories of how, in 20 or 30 years, you're going to have these mega cities. These mega cities already exist in China, of how, 70% of the world's population are going to live on the coast with all these cities. And so these cities are going to have 20, 30, 50 million people. You can't just keep, I understand they're being inventive and making parking such as like this. It looks cool, it's fine and dandy, but you gotta, to me, instead of building up, that to me is not worth it. Building up always and continuously building up. That's just gonna cause a crowded city.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I would have to think of another way for these cities to not be so populated, even if to restrict the number of people that are in these cities. This you got these health concerns. Not That's just me.
Mm-hmm. I think these are just quick fix solutions to the already crowded problem, right? So you can't just tear down a building and then rebuild it back up because more people moved in. That's just not practical.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that. Like me personally, I wouldn't build skyscrapers. I would build more of what they call ground scrapers. Because with these skyscrapers, you in a lot of cities you have obese people. You have a lot of people that are obese because they don't have to do much walking, do much walking upstairs because you have these exercises. Not meaning to get off topic, but I would build more ground scrapers where these buildings, they're the height of skyscrapers, but they're just on the ground. So they will promote walking. They will promote uh, air to blow through the city to get rid of a lot of this stuff. At a certain point, you have to redesign the properly made city.
Scholar Chang, you have anything you want to add to this?
Oh no, no. Are we still on topic of the vertical design of the parking lot, or have we moved on to?
We were we were talking about the angle design, but now we're gonna
Yeah.
go to the parking
Oh,
structure.
You mean? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What did you say, Mike? I'm sorry. Did you say something? You said you go on the
We were
angle
talking.
design.
Yeah, we were talking about angular design. Now we're gonna go to the parking structure.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, the how can I add this? Oh, sorry. Somebody called me. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I mean, hey, for you guys to end those overcrowded cities, man, we got plenty of land down here in the South. Just come on down. Come on down. We got some hospitality for you down here.
Hey,
All right.
hey, so we on this 20-story automatic parking garage.
Yes. What's
Hey,
your thoughts on this?
you know what? I'm gonna go after you because I saw it. It's good. I'll let you go first.
Somebody going downstairs?
No, you know what? I saw it. It's actually, in my opinion, it's a great idea. It reminds me of that Mission Impossible movie a few years back, the one they had in India. I like it. Um, it looks like a car can just fall backwards because this thing is 20 stories high, and it's like no
Mm-hmm.
gate behind a car. It looks smooth going up, going down. How the car go off the elevator to one of the ports, all that is smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Notice. Um, there's, it's like they're there, but they're not secure. The cars are not secure. Then in the article it said there's no maintenance stairs. Like a person can walk up the stairs and take the elevator all the way to the top. So if a car gets
Why
stuck,
would they?
huh?
Yeah, but there's a you still have the lift, right?
Open, open, no, open. Yeah, go ahead. I should have muted.
Yeah. So the parking garage has 20 stories. It fits 385 cars, and it fits 25 cars per story. Um, it's built in a hexagonal shape, and it utilizes QR code in order to determine QR code and weight to determine which car should go. So if the heavier the car is, the lower the story it's going to be on. The lighter the car is, it's going to go to the top, to the very top.
Mm-hmm.
And the QR code will help determine that and authenticate that. Lionel is saying that it doesn't look secure at the top because it can just fall over. Actually, it can't fall over because there's no moving parts there.
Well, I'm speaking in terms of malfunction. You know, that like a backup system to make sure, like a make sure backup system. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just there. But like I said, I don't have anything against it. It looks nice. Obviously, the company or person that invented and built this, they're making money because all these cars on the streets. It holds. It holds say 25 cars per level. That's a lot of cars.
20 stories.
The elevator, it looks very smooth. The process is fast but smooth. Yeah. I'm
Right.
thinking of
Right. So go right ahead.
No, I'll say I'm just thinking what could, and having things in place to combat that. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Scholar Chang, you have anything you want to add? Oh, Scholar Chang's not here. Cream, you have anything you want to add to this?
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. Right. So the size of the building is actually very compact. So it's 680 square 680 square meters, which is really small for it's half the size of a city block, if that makes any sense. If you had to create a parking garage of the same capacity, it would take up over 2 city blocks.
I see what you're saying.
And it's actually, to me, it looks like it's well designed. I mean, once the car goes onto the pallet, it's pretty secure up there. It's not going to move around because you have the parking brake in place, and then you have the pallet itself that's not going to move.
Mm-hmm.
I think your concern was that it might roll backwards and then it might fall off, but the reality is very rarely does that ever happen because there's no human element to it anyways.
Yeah.
Right, the human gets out of it and then he puts his car on the lift, as we can see it right here.
Yeah. Like some, cause I was just thinking, like, wow, what if some, what they call them, chalk blocks can come up,
Mm-hmm.
and then just wedge under the back tire, and then you can really just make sure. Just that's all I was thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would make sense if the car was rolling back and forth, but it's not. If you look at from here to there, see the transfer, see the wedges.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I mean, it definitely solves a problem. I will hire a cleaning company to come in. You know, it like it get dusty real quick. Look, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no real complaints on my side.
All right, we'll go to the next article. All right, next item on the docket is from the Drive. Partners for automated vehicle education. Some of the biggest mobility news at this year's Boring Consumer Electronics Show was the launch of Partners for Automated Vehicle Education, a coalition of autonomous vehicle industry players and nonprofits aimed at improving the public's understanding of automated vehicles. Some 2 years in the works, the formation of PAVE by some of the space's heaviest hitters shows that the era of self-driving hype may finally be coming to a close. But as Jack as that Stilgo points out at driverless futures, Pave can Pave can't simply show up, talk about the safety benefits of autonomous vehicles, and then hope to make the impact they are looking for. Understanding the source of the confusion and misinformation that they hope to address, and finding the initiative to directly confront it will be a very real challenge. Yeah, I misspelled that. Go down here. Stilgo is right in that the number of participants at Page CES press conference did seem more interested in talking up their companies or positive potential of AVs, autonomous vehicles, than in understanding or explaining the root of the confusion that organizations were set up to address. If pace never evolves past the point of quickly becoming irrelevant, another Big Ten organization that will disappear into a soft mist of unopposable but irrelevant platitudes. The problem, in a nutshell, is that it's not that people don't understand how autonomous vehicles may someday benefit society, but that too much focus on long-term benefits has created profound confusion about what automated vehicles are and now and not right now. As Stilgo correctly concludes, if I were Pave, I would be looking not to educate but to listen. There is an urgent need for dialogue. What do you think about this, Lionel?
I think he has a valid point because a lot of times here we talk about autonomous vehicles and what they can do, and the the things they can do in the future. We talk about we talk about the possibilities, but we often lose the people that are new to this. Um, those things we take for granted. We think that people should automatically understand because we talk about it so much. We automatically understand it. He has a valid point, and those points that he touched on, those learning points of when Tesla tweeted something that wasn't actually factual. You know, they could use those points to get the word out. Hey, yes, autonomous vehicles are on the rise, but this, just to get the mass public more on board and have that transition from gas and diesel powered vehicles to autonomous EV vehicles. So he has valid points.
Premium, you have anything you want to add to this?
You know, the way I skim this is this guy's he's pushing autonomous vehicles, or he's one of the autonomous vehicle advocates. Is that right? This guy is.
Yeah, I think they've built a committee.
Okay, so again, I mean, I don't have a deep understanding, how all this stuff works. But I mean, if we're talking about, I'm sorry.
just cut you off. What you just said, you don't have a deep understanding. That's exactly what he's talking about.
Okay. If on the one hand we're talking about the challenges that Elon as much as having with Tesla, a brand that's out there we're aware of, and the model he's having challenges with that. How is the autonomous thing going to do? How is that going to work if the electric thing is being challenged right now? If we
They're,
if mhm.
they're not. Well, in this article, they're not challenging it. What you just said. Okay, when you come on in here and we talk about autonomous vehicles, people may not have deep understanding of it. That's what he's talking about. We always talk about, hey, in autonomous vehicles, you can just do this. But there's no transition from, hey, you driving your F-150 to, hey, this new technology is coming, um, give you the basic understanding of it, and then go into the what it can do part. We go from driving F-150 to, hey, all of a sudden everybody in level 5 autonomous vehicles. Well, when it where's the transition? That's what they're talking about and educating the public in that transition. That's what they're talking about, specifically talk about in this article right here. And that coalition that they uh, started is supposed to do just that. And what he's talking about is that coalition is not doing a good enough job in educating the public on that transition.
And again, I'm just looking at it like, I mean, if the electrical thing can't even work, I mean, how are we gonna skip leapfrog over to the autonomous thing if the electrical thing is not working um out too well right now.
Those are two
You know,
similar markets.
I'm sorry.
Those are two different markets. You can have an electric vehicle and it not be autonomous, but you can also have an autonomous vehicle that's either gas or electric. We see that with Waymo's platform. So that's a hybrid vehicle.
It's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough, bro. It's gonna be tough, man. I mean, it, the only way I see that the autonomous thing working, and I hate to sound like a broken record, is if it's mandated. I mean, just I see it challenged on so many levels. I mean, just on a basic level, just a driving experience. I mean, people like driving. Not everybody wants to be chauffeured. Some people. I enjoy driving. I like driving. Um,
That's because you came from from that sort of market, right? So that's what the whole entire Pave um, platform is for, right? Is to get people to transition them from the level one of a driving of a vehicle with a steering wheel to a level five vehicle that doesn't have a steering wheel.
I mean, even if you put a kid in a car, if you put a kid in a car who can't drive, just the experience of, I mean, it's just,
But that's not always true. Just with in yester centuries of going from what used to be popular in the 1800s and the turn of the century, those new technologies that came out, people loved the older technologies of the 1800s, and I'm pretty sure many people talk just like you of, well, just the experience of having a horse and a buggy, that that type of thought process, but the transition still came. So what you're saying is, I understand us, we like to drive because, like Mike said, we came up in an environment. But as more and more autonomous vehicles are on the road, and these younger generations get acclimated to that, at first they're going to have a choice, but after a while, it's going to be, hey, what's the use of owning the car when I can take this autonomous vehicle? There's one less cost that comes out of my check, and the transition is going to be slow. I'm not saying it's going to be fast, but it's going to transition.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can look at old black and white movies when folks when we first put four wheels on a chassis. Guys were zipping down the street going 25 miles an hour. I mean, it was a thrill. It was the same thrill that during the evening when we saw that guy in that yellow Porsche in the 80s. It's the same thrill that someone today, in whatever the supercar is today, is driving. It's the same thing. 100 years back then, guys 2 feet off or 12 inches off the ground on some wheels and a chassis going 25 miles an hour. He's still getting his socks blown off because of that driving experience. I mean,
it's head blown off too.
True. I mean, and technology has
a lot of people. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I was just going to say that there's a lot of people who died back in those days in the 20s and the 30s because their cars didn't have anti-lock brakes, they didn't have airbags, they didn't even have seat belts. So if they got into a collision, you got ejected from that vehicle and you got pretty much demolished, or you went through that windshield.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just again, I just think it's tough. I mean, if that's gonna work, you better not put someone behind the wheel of a regular car and let them have the experience of feeling as one with that vehicle. Because as soon as you do that, they will never want to be chauffeured around again because just the driving experience, man, is just it can't be simulated. I mean, it is a thing. It is. I mean, in my opinion, it is absolutely a thing. Um, but people take taxis, they take Ubers, they want to get from place to place without having to, I mean, that's there too. But I just don't. I just I think it's going to be tough to kind of trump that, um, pun intended. Um, but again, you just better not let folks get behind of a wheel of a vehicle and experience that thrill and that sensation of being as one with this thing. I say go left, it goes left. I say go right, it goes right. Otherwise,
But
mhm.
do people get into car accidents now?
Yes.
Does that stop them from getting behind the wheel of a car again?
Nope.
Well, there you go.
Eh, True. True. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you have to think about the physically challenged. I mean, this country has done vast improvements on public sidewalks where you have wheelchair access now. Before that wasn't there. So now you have to think about how do you get your people who are in their chairs, in these wheelchairs, from point A to point B securely. That's going to be your number one demographic because if there's a lot of places that don't have wheelchair access or physically challenged access, um, you're going to need some kind of vehicle to get them from point A to point B. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter what their reasoning is for why they're going there. They just need to get from point A to point B. An autonomous vehicle can actually do just that. You imagine a person in a chair that can just roll up the back of a caravan or a Pacifica, whatever type of vehicle it is, and just say, by voice, take me to Joe's Steak and Cheese. That that autonomous vehicle would actually do that for them, and it will probably wait if you tell it to. That to me, that's a game changer. That's different from what we have right now, where you have a Uber or a Lyft person who just has a sedan and doesn't have that sort of access, or doesn't have that sort of chair availability,
Yeah.
accommodations, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, if you give that driver that chair or that big caravan that's kind of retrofitted to where it can scoot the person in there, I mean that also works. You know, the brick wall is gonna. I mean, there is when it comes to this automation and autonomous thing, again, and I've said this before, the biggest challenge with going fully autonomous, fully automated, this, that, and whatever, is it's it lacks nuance and it lacks surprise and adaptability. It's not as adaptable. It doesn't know how to calculate nuance on the same level as human beings, as we as human beings do. You know,
It's based on data.
exactly. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's it's going to be tough. I mean, we all call numbers and get the automated attendant, and it's a pain in the ass, man. It's just, I mean, and it's going to be, you know, this. We eventually get to where we want to, but sometimes I'm like, if I could just speak to a human being, I could get out of this call in 20 seconds. What takes me 2 or 3 minutes, you know, because it lacks nuance. It just tells me go down this path, or this path. These are all the paths that I know. Once you go on this path, then I'll give you another 3 or 4 to go ahead and choose from. Then get a 3 or 4 to choose from. It doesn't know how to split hairs or how to accommodate surprise or nuance. It's
Actually,
incapable of that.
actually, actually, it has now. That was a previous generation communication with robots, right? These soft bots is what we call them.
Hmm.
That was the previous generation. Now, but if you look at TensorFlow, TensorFlow is an open source um, application for artificial intelligence. You can download it yourself. Google uses this on their platform Duplex. They demonstrated this before. If you add the new Pixel Google Pixel phone, it actually has that built into it. So it actually gives you human interaction.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
If you think about like the Avengers and Tony Stark's suit, you know, with Friday, that's basically what level they got into right now.
And that's available. I can get my hand. I can try that out. See how that works. Where?
If you go to GitHub and you download TensorFlow, TensorFlow, that's an actual platform. Now, if you were a programmer, if you were a software engineer, and you added that to NVIDIA's artificial intelligence chip, then you have basically the Friday from the Avengers and Tony Stark's Iron Man suit. That's the level that we've gotten to. It's going to get better because more data has to be fed to it in order for it to understand, you know, human interaction.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
Hmm. Let me hit this next article. Sorry, my stupid Google Chrome is Google Chrome crashed on me.
All
All
right.
right, this next article. This next article is from NBCnews.com. The Russian startup wants to put huge ads in space. Not everyone is on board with the idea. This is just a example artist rendered image. If it sometimes feels as if the world is awash in advertisements, just wait. A Russian startup just revealed plans to use swarms of tiny light reflecting satellites to create sprawling billboards in space. The first of the Star Rocket's space-based ads, shown in a new concept video released by the company last week, could go up by 2021. The ads, a bit like sky typing, only in low Earth orbit rather than in the atmosphere, would be visible only at night but could be seen from just about anywhere on the planet. The ads would be created by an array of tiny satellites, each equipped with a reflective sail of about 30 feet in diameter. As these CubeSats orbit in altitude of about 280 miles, sunlight would reflect off of the sails to form luminous words or logos visible from the ground below. The company prototype CubeSat already in initial tests of space-based advertising could begin early next year. Start Rocket CEO Vlad Stenikov said in an email to NBC News Mock, the company hasn't revealed the details about which rocket would deliver the satellites into orbit or how much it would charge clients to advertise. Stenikov said the company's plan for space-based advertising was inspired by the quote disco ball satellite launched into orbit in January 2018 by Huntington Beach, California-based firm Rocket Lab. The quote the Humanity Star satellite put into space as an orbiting art project circled the planet for 2 months before burning up in the atmosphere as it fell back towards Earth. Stenikov said the boldness of the Humanity Star project led him to wonder what if we will invent a new media, the first media in orbit. Not everyone shares Stenikov's enthusiasm for adding to the population of human-made objects in Earth orbit, which includes 1,400 functioning satellites. Quote, putting more satellites up there is going to cause more opportunities for collisions, and we don't want that happening, said John Chrysidis, a professor of mechanical and aerospace engineering at the University of Buffalo. Quote, my biggest issue is that these objects are going to become space junk. What's your take on this, Preem? Advertising in space.
Yeah, my guy, what do you get? Joe Polish, he got the URL spacemarketing.com or something like that, .com, and he was tied in with these guys from Singularity that they had a rocket or was trying something Singularity, something Diamantis. Yeah, they were trying to send something up into space too as well. You know, kind of like similar to the Blue Origin and what Elon was doing. I don't know, bro. I mean, I guess, and again, my whole thing with marketing or advertising, I mean, advertising and marketing is two different things. Advertising is for the big boys, like the Coca-Cola people you see right here. It's just money to burn. We got a brand. We just want to put something up there, just, keep top of mind awareness, but marketing, the purpose of marketing is to get a customer, make a sale to lead them to whatever the next step is. So, you can advertise anywhere. You can advertise on somebody's ass, on their back, on their shorts, whatever, on their cars, whatever. So, if it's out there, they can put ads up there. I'm sure they will. Just to probably say that they put ads out there. Companies that can actually advertise to them, winning awards. It doesn't have to even make money. It doesn't have to get a customer, get a client, or make money. You know, they get off going to Canes, the Cane Lions Festival every year to get awards for best creativity, this, that, and whatever. So they just play a different ball game. So God bless them. Um, you know, it's just cool. It looks great. I like it. Works for them.
I know you have anything you want to
Uh, per the artist rendering, I admit it looks cool when the sun, twilight, dawn, the lights in the sky, but it's advertising. Per the article, the astronomers have a point. It will interfere with looking at the moon for at the flag and finding other things. Um, also said these cube stats will burn out after a year, create a lot more space dust, space debris. When NASA's already tracking 500,000 pieces of space debris. Uh, I dare to say it's a good concept. Like humans being go, we're gonna bring our baggage with us. That includes marketing and advertisement. But the downside is greater than the upside. In this case, they're obviously just want money.
Well, we've talked about cube satellites, so um, we know that's where the market is going. All right, this next one is from the independent.co.uk. NASA finds strange alien planet hiding outside our solar system. NASA has found a strange alien planet sitting outside of our solar system. The world is cool and small. Two characteristics that make it a very strange thing indeed for scientists to find. The little planet known as HD 21749 Bravo B is the third planet to be found by TESS, NASA's new planet hunting telescope. It's going it goes around its star on a long orbit, taking relatively leisurely 36 days. Despite the proximity, it is quite cool at around, here's a grammatical error here, at around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. As such, it could be a very important way for scientists to find out about such relatively little in temperature worlds. Quote, it's the coolest small planet that we know around a star that bright, says Diana Dragomir, a postdoc in MIT's Kavli Institute for Astrophysics and Space Research, which led the new discovery. Quote, we know a lot about atmospheres of hot planets, but because it is very hard to find small planets that orbit farther farther from their stars and are therefore cooler, we haven't been able to learn much about these smaller, cooler planets. But here we are lucky and caught this one and can now study it in more detail. Even more, even despite being called small by scientists who found it, the world was the world is still huge compared to us. It is about three times our size and 23 times as massive. That puts it in the category of a sub Neptune. It means that it would be the first roughly Earth-sized planet to have been found by test. What do you think about this, Lionel?
I think it's cool. It shows that space in our galaxy, what entire universe is, are not uh, universal. It's not monolithic the in terms of the laws of physics. You know, this planet is so close to its sun, but it's cool. Obviously, we know planets that are close that close to their sun in our solar system are hothouses, such as Venus. Well, Mercury is just being burned up, and Venus is more of a hothouse. But this planet is cool, 300 degrees Fahrenheit, um, and it's huge. It's comparable to the Neptune and Uranus, and those planets, especially Neptune. Neptune and Pluto, not Pluto, but Neptune is large. It's I've always heard that planets that are large are always further from their sun. And by this planet being large and it's closer to the sun, and on top of it being cool, it has to have some type of natural resources that is making it that cool. So it may have some type of new resources that have not ever been discovered that is protecting it from the heat of its sun being that close. Therefore, maybe humans can, when we reach that or find out what it is, they can help us in going on planets that are hot, protect us from that heat. I'm just thinking out here, but it is quite interesting.
Pretty, you have anything you want to add to that?
Nah.
All right. Yeah. A planet that's supposed to be like similar to ours, and it's is able to retain that sort of temperature. There has to be water on there for one. That's the first thing. So it has to have some form of liquid on there. Now, whether or not it has oxygen is a different story. But I'd be interested in following up on that story again. All right, this one is from Fortune magazine. IBM unveils groundbreaking quantum computer system. Fortune. The Q system is the Q System 1 is the first quantum system to be consolidate thousands of components into a glass enclosed airtight environment, but specifically for business use. What do you think about this, Lionel? Since you sent it
Oh,
along.
oh, this is fantastic. Quantum computing. Now, in a video, I implore everyone to look at the video. It's a good video. He said, as of now, there's nothing you can do on quantum computing that you cannot do on traditional computers at the moment. But 5 years from now, there'll be things you can only do on quantum computing. And the quantum computers that they're building, per this video, are quantum computers that are going to be in the cloud that you can utilize their power, like cloud computing. And I'll even go a step further. 5 years from now, if they're doing this now, they're going to they're going to start selling these quantum computers to countries, and replacing these supercomputers. The need for supercomputers if you have quantum computers. But as he said, as of now, there's nothing you can do on quantum computers that you cannot do on traditional computers. But 5 years from now, there are going to be things that you can only do on quantum computers. Just this IBM Q System 1, the look of it is sleek, it's clean, and it shows that they're pushing the production of these quantum computers.
Right, because they're the next evolution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you won't be playing any video games on them anytime soon, but the processing power is going to be necessary for all types of scientific research.
Mm-hmm. And I know the whole getup looks big, huge, takes up room. It's almost tantamount to early computers. You know, they'd take up the whole entire room, these computers, you know, and take up the entire wall. But the actual chip,
Right, the early mainframe.
right, right. The actual chip for this quantum computer is small, very small, but it takes everything, it needs everything else around it to get it to a temperature of close to absolute zero in order for it to do the type of computing that it does. Now, the size of it, like I said, to the early IBM computers of the 60s and 70s, even 50s and 60s. I mean, who, I'm not going to say who's to say, I will say 10, 15, 20, even 30 years from now, we look back on this and we'll say, wow, I remember when quantum computers were huge. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mainframes back then were big because that was the process design was couldn't get any lower than what it was. Right, you're looking at it right here in the video.
Yeah.
You know, they were massive, very massive in size. All right, let me
But
get to this next article.
now I will say those old pictures of IBM decades ago, those are nice nostalgic pictures.
Why is that?
Well, because of design, how people were dressed, you know, they purposely designed it. He said they hired an interior designer to design the facilities and how clean people were dressed. I like that. It's pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. All right, this next one is from CoinTelegraph.com. University of Bahrain will issue diplomas on blockchain employing block certs. The University of Bahrain will issue diplomas on blockchain English language, so local media Trade Arabia reports on January 13th. According to the aforementioned article, the university employs the block certs open standard in partnership with Learning Machine, a startup providing a system to issue verifiable official records using blockchain anchored format. As Cointelegraph reported in September last year, the government of Bahrain has stressed the importance of blockchain technology for the country's economy while urging cybersecurity vigilance. Abdullah Hussein Mirza, Bahrain's Minister of Electricity and Water Affairs, declared, quote, blockchain's ability to protect users' data is a true mark of progress, especially due to the fact that it can be applied in different companies from different industries, including cybersecurity. Trade Arabia reports today that the university's blockchain initiative is part of an overall digitalization or digitization of strategy for mobile learners. As Cointelegraph has reported, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology (MIT) has also issued blockchain-based digital certificates to more than 100 graduates as part of a pilot program of mid-October 2017. You know, I can see the justification for that. I mean, there was a woman here in Boston who worked for the state in forensics, and she lied that she graduated from some university, and they never bothered to check. And when somebody did a background check on her, it turns out she never really went to this university. She lied to get the job.
Mm.
It was on her LinkedIn.
Wow.
She she botched a lot of drug cases that sent a lot of black men to jail. And
Wow.
they when they did the investigation on her and they found out she lied on her resume and her application, they had to let a lot of those black men out of jail. She
Wow.
had to pay, you know. I think she's doing time right now. I think she they sentenced her to 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, this is a use case. Um, they say they're going to be putting on a Bitcoin network, Bitcoin blockchain, which helps the Bitcoin blockchain become more useful and needed. The more stuff you put on it, um, they're using a program, blockchain called BlockCert, and that's their whole use the blockchain to put the poems on their blockchain. People can, when they do their resumes, they could put a link, well, some type of I don't know how the how it'll go to people to make sure for people to go see their certifications or diplomas, but they can, whatever that's used, they can put that on their Printing got some background noise.
Oh, damn! I thought it was muted.
They could put that on their CVs, resumes. Yeah, um, it's definitely a use case. And to know that MIT been doing it since what, 2017,
17.
2016? Wow. It's nice, man.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let me get to the last article of the night, and then we'll open up for open mic. This one is from CCN.com. Amazon developing new game streaming service to compete with Microsoft and Google. Not to be outdone by its FANG and other technology rivals, it appears Amazon has been secretly developing a game streaming service. It looks set to compete with Microsoft and Google with instant video game housed on powerful servers, cloud-based gaming, which will negate the need for downloads or game cards, could be one of the next major advances for the gaming industry. Google's Project Steam Cloud gaming service is currently in beta testing with no views of a full official launch. For Google, it will be as easy as opening a Chrome tab to play your favorite game. Microsoft unveiled its Project xCloud in October 2018. It will be available for public testing sometime in 2019 and run on console and PC. Amazon is reportedly already in talks with publishers but won't be launching its own service until 2020. The news comes from sources simply named as too briefed on the too briefed on the plans who revealed the development to the information. There has been formal there has been no formal announcement from Amazon as yet. Other reports found that Amazon is hiring engineers in Seattle and California to work on quote cloud games, with one job description revealing the opportunity involves shaping the foundation of an quote unannounced AAA game business, an industry worth $20.28 billion. What do you think about this, Lionel?
Amazon, I I'm starting to see the feel like you've been seeing it with Amazon, Microsoft, Google. Microsoft is making big moves, and Amazon. It's like obviously they are competing with each other with their services. Amazon is going into this video gaming um, sector, and they want to make waves because they already have the infrastructure. They already have cloud computing and AWS. So, only thing they need is something that to play games they want to play on the Amazon service. It the move is logical. in my opinion.
Why do you say that?
Well, because like Microsoft is gaining ground on them in the cloud services, cloud computing services with Azure. Amazon still have a large chunk of the market. Microsoft is using now is market before I continue, is Microsoft using some of their Azure infrastructure for cloud gaming, or can that be used for that?
Yeah, that's the purpose of it.
Okay, so there you go. Since Amazon has a large chunk of the market in cloud computing with AWS, it really makes sense if they want to compete with Microsoft and Microsoft Azure, and then Microsoft has the Xbox to go that route to add that into the mix. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, Amazon needs to use it because Amazon has a lot of cloud computing resources available, right? So if a lot of their sources are not being utilized at a certain time, um, then those resources don't make money for them.
Mm.
So gaming is the next area of revenue for them that they see. The only difference here is that Amazon is still trying to go Google Gaga as a baby when Microsoft and Sony um, and Google are already full walking adults.
Yeah.
They just don't have the traction. They have the resources, but they don't have the traction. So they're trying to make waves in areas that they're pretty much in
They don't have
they're
history
not
with it.
very mature. Well, they're not very mature. They're trying to buy their way into everything. You cannot buy your way into it. Microsoft made a good move by going to the Xbox because they were able to cultivate gaming from the ground up, in a way that Apple was able to cultivate the iPod to the iPhone from the ground up. Everybody kind of has their own niche in terms of technology and what they do. Barnes and Noble, when they had their Nook, that was their thing. Um, same thing with BlackBerry in their BlackBerry phones, right? The CrackBerry, that was their thing.
Mm.
For whatever reason, Amazon has all this money that they've accrued from these big contracts and these big agreements, but they really have not innovated anything that's really driving new demand.
Not a damn thing.
Now they
I,
got a lot of money from Net. They got a lot of money from Netflix because Netflix switched to Amazon Web Services as a computing cloud computing provider.
mm.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna fare out with this gaming thing because, like you said, that they haven't you know from the rooter to the tutor. I mean, they aren't building any games. They aren't starting it on the ground level, building things from the ground up. It's kind of like you know um I look at I'm a Prime member and I look at their streaming service or what is it, their video Prime Video, man, and it's tough. I mean, once every blue moon I may find something odd there that I like watching, but it's pretty much garbage, man. The selection of stuff that's there for free, that comes with it, it's really nothing. You know, again, I may find a movie like, oh yeah, I can watch this again. I like this movie, maybe so I want to go ahead and see twice. But I mean, the selection, it's not even worth it for even free, man. I mean, it's not even, you know, even giving the shit away is almost like an insult because the options there are just so bad, But it's like you said, like the high dollar always says. I mean, they got all this money, they got to spend it, you know. Uh, um, and if they aren't innovating, what are they gonna do? You know, buy innovation actually, if they can, or
Well,
wherever they can find it, I guess.
Yeah, Amazon lacks creativity. That's their biggest problem. Apple masters in creativity, so that's their benefit. And Amazon would have to stop paying, you know, millions of dollars to certain people from these big name companies like Apple to come join their team and actually help create something. Because that's the only way you're gonna actually get that sort of innovation. On its face, they lack innovation. You could tell by the boxes that they ship out. They're just about the bottom line of profit, which is all fine and dandy in capitalism. But what happens when you can't innovate? When you just have a box with a little smiley face on it, that doesn't offer people that experience. People go to the Apple store because of that experience. People go to the Microsoft store for that experience. Same thing with Lexus. Lexus is rated as the number one car brand for dealership experience. People go there, take their cars there for that experience. We see Lincoln, Ford's Lincoln brand, trying to one up Lexus by bringing a new Lincoln to you, while they take your Lincoln that you own to the dealership to service it, and you get to drive off in something new. And that's a courtesy service. They come to your house. So you see this sort of end user experience, the customer experience that companies are focused on, but Amazon doesn't seem to be focused on that at all.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, yeah. Hmm.
It's open
And,
mic, friend. You can bring up
that's
anything you want.
I'm sorry.
It's open mic. You can bring up anything you want.
You know,
Tech.
and that's why when we have this the circular talk as far as the retail thing and Amazon going to retail. My thing is, I mean, they absolutely can't be beat, and that's one of their weaknesses is the lack of humanization, and being able to incorporate experiences into their model, because they're just so big. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, a lot of times is even smaller companies, they think, oh, in order for me to compete, I got to do what the big boys are doing. But you can't beat them at the game. You can't beat an Amazon at scale or efficiency. But where you can beat them at, you can beat them because they're cold. Hey, and that's another thing. I don't want to bring this up, but it's just a little gripe, man. Hey, Amazon is starting to suck, man. Amazon, or it may just be me. They may just have a problem off of me. But I swear to God, 3 out of the last 4 things that I got from Amazon were complete shit. And I suspect it's because, like, when you're watching YouTube, you see all these guys, hey, buy my course and I'll show you how you can make $100,000 in a week just selling stuff on Amazon and Shopify and whatever. I think, and I may be wrong, but you got a lot of these drop payment the people that are making corn on Amazon, and like, okay, I can order this shit from over here, put it on Amazon for this price, and just do a drop shipment and get it delivered. And they're figuring a way how to get stuff there in Amazon, make a penny on this, a couple pennies here, a couple pennies there. You sell 1,000 or 2,000, 10,000 of them, and it adds up. But what's happening to me was I'm buying shit from Amazon, man, and it's shit. I told you, I mentioned about the shirt the last time. It was supposed to be one size. The size was too bad. I tried to trade the shit in, and the motherfuckers acted they couldn't even speak English. Then I got this hat rack or this hat thing for the closet to put my hats in. The image and the product that was advertised is nothing, not even close to the product that I got. And then I went back there. I was like, okay, did I get this? And I went and I looked, and I'm telling the guy, and I was like, listen, this isn't the same thing. It didn't come in this box. It came in like a damn, just like a Ziploc bag damn near. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? So I go to try to contact the seller, and it says this is beyond the doggone return date. It was within 30 days. It took the shit forever to get here. I'm a prime member. I don't know why it took forever. It took forever to get here. Then I can't return it. Another thing happened was a stylus pen for my Note 5. I ordered the shit twice. I ordered it once. The shit came. It wouldn't even fit in the stylus thing on my Note. I emailed the guy. The guy's telling me, send me a picture. Send me a video. I send this guy a picture. Send the guy a video. I'm like, look, dude, it's not even going inside. Not only that, the stylus tip on the doggone thing wouldn't even work. Okay, so the guy's like, okay, don't worry about it. I sent you another one, all by email. He said, okay, don't contact Amazon, all by email. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Just go and send me another. I said, dude, I'm not tripping. I said, the stylus thing doesn't work. The guy, they sent me another pen, same exact shit. It doesn't slide in all the way, and the tip on the stylus thing does not work. I said, screw you, I'm going to Amazon. I go to Amazon and get all within 30 days. This thing is past or beyond the return period. And I'm just like, shit, man. This is crazy. Now, what I could have done was I could have just went down to the essays at the damn cellular shop there. They got every accessory for every cell phone and just gotten it there. I would have put my hands on it, tried it out. I know what it worked, you know, and so on and so forth. But I suspect, and again, I could be wrong. Sorry for the rant, but I could be wrong. But I suspect that Amazon is being compromised by a big influx of these drop shipment people that are buying into this get rich quick scheme, this get rich quick thing, videos that you always see before the video you want to watch on YouTube, telling them to set up all these drop shipment shops, man. Because I think there's a lot of shit coming out of there now, man. You know, and it's frustrating and it's irritating. And once the customers start getting pissed off, they're gonna be like, screw this shit. So,
well, that's yeah, and that's true. So you're referring to the customer experience, and I think that's where maybe even something as basic as Craigslist can be a lot more valuable than Amazon, right? Because you have to go through a lot of hoops to get feedback and interaction with a seller. Using Amazon, using Amazon's marketplace, as opposed to Craigslist, where I get to meet the person, I get to meet the seller in person. I'm in a well lit area. I get face to face contact, customer service, so on and so forth. Craigslist is a very rudimentary, basic platform, but it actually is efficient at what it does.
Yeah, you know, again, I just hope it's not a trend, but I just find it odd that again, at least three out of the last four products that I got there was just like little knickknacks of, oh, I wonder if I can get this there. It was a bad experience, just a bad experience, man. And I don't know if they're not vetting their sellers. I don't know how easy it is for someone to get on there and sell stuff. But I mean, I could have just, I really could have done without those experiences, man. Now you just gotta look at those damn bags. And it's cheap shit. I mean, the shit it felt cheap. It felt cheap. You know, the pen was cheap. I'm sorry.
Was it worth it?
No. I mean, it had the reviews and all that stuff.
I'm saying the price of the product, was it worth ordering online in comparison to going to a local store?
Knowing now what I knew, if I knew, I would have been happy to pay more. And it wasn't, you know, I just thought it was a market rate. I think the stylus pen was like $8, whatever. Okay, it's a little pen. Okay, cool, maybe $8 or whatever. I know at the Sprint store, it's probably like 30 or 40. I would not pay 30 or 40 for it. You know, I don't need it like that. You know, for the pen that actually goes in there, I can use for the pen that actually slides in the slot. You know, but would I walk into a store, go to the Mexican spot, the Mexican cellular place, and pay them $12, $14? Yeah. If I knew I was getting something that actually worked, and a hat rack, I know I could have got one at Walmart. But I was just sitting here, convenient. Let me get it from Amazon. But hey, I would drive to 5-10 minutes to the Walmart to get, you know, some shit. At least I know what I'm getting, and I can see it. But again, the thing with the hat thing was what I saw was not what they sent. Completely different product. And then when I went back to check the order, the product that was showing within my orders was not the thing that I had in my hand. But it's same seller, same everything matching up, but they sent something else completely different. So Mm-mm. I think they've been. I think they're getting compromised. I think they're getting compromised. And sometimes when you're that big, somebody was saying something as far as the garage, as far as QC, the quality control. Sometimes when you get so big, that quality control becomes tricky. It's hard to do.
Right. Right. I wanted to bring up this one article in the open mic. Let me share my screen real quick. All right, this one's from technologyreview.com. AI is sending people to jail and getting it wrong. Using historical data to train risk assessment tools could mean that machines are copying the mistakes of the past. I might not seem to have a huge personal impact if your most frequent brush with machine learning algorithm is through Facebook's new feed or Google's search rankings.
Hey, are you supposed to be sharing your screen?
I am sharing my screen.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
No. Can anybody in chat see it? I don't see it. Okay, yeah, you good.
Okay. But at but at the data for Black Lives Conference last weekend, technologists, legal experts, and community activists snapped things into perspective with a discussion of America's criminal justice system. There, an algorithm can determine the trajectory of your life. The U.S. imprisons more people than any country in the world. At the end of 2016, nearly 2.2 million adults were being held in prisons or jails, and an additional 4.5 million were in correctional facilities. Put another way, one in 38 adult Americans were under some form of correctional supervision. The nightmarish the nightmarishness of the situation is one of the few issues that unite politicians on both sides of the aisle. Under immense pressure to reduce prison numbers without risking a crime, courtrooms across the U.S. has turned to automated tools in attempts to shuffle defendants through the legal system as efficiently and safely as possible. This is where AI This is where the AI part of the story begins. Police departments use predictive algorithms to strategize about where to send their ranks. Law enforcement agencies use face recognition systems to help identify suspects. These practices have garnered well-deserved scrutiny for whether they in fact improve safety or simply perpetuate existing inequities. Researchers and civil rights advocates, for example, have repeatedly demonstrated that face recognition systems can fail spectacularly, particularly for dark-skinned individuals, making members of Congress for even making members of Congress for convicted criminals. John Lewis, we're talking about you. But the most controversial tool by far comes after police have made an arrest. Say hello to criminal risk assessment algorithms. Risk assessment tools are designed to do one thing: take in the details of defendant's profile and spit out a recidivism score. A single number of estimates the like a single number of estimating the likelihood that he or she will reoffend. A judge then factors that score into a myriad of decisions that can determine what type of rehabilitation services in particular defendants should receive, whether they should be held in jail before trial, and how severe their sentences should be. A low score paves the way for a kind of fate. A high score does precisely the opposite. The logic for using such algorithmic tools is that if you can accurately predict criminal behavior, you can allocate resources accordingly, whether for rehabilitation or for prison sentences. In theory, it also reduces any bias influencing the process because judges are making decisions on the basis of data-driven recommendations and not their gut. You may have already spotted the problem. Modern day risk assessment tools are often driven by algorithms trained on historical crime data. As we covered before, machine learning algorithms use statistics to find patterns in data. So if feed, so if you feed it in historical crime data, it will pick out the patterns associated with crime. But those patterns are statistically correlations, nowhere near the same as causations. If an algorithm found, for example, that low income was correlated with high recidivism, it will it would leave you none the wiser about whether low income actually caused crime. But this is precisely what risk assessment tools do. They turn they turn correlative insights into casual scoring mechanisms. Now, populations that have historically been disproportionately targeted by law enforcement, especially low income and minority communities, are at risk of being slapped with higher recidivism scores. As a result, the algorithm could amplify and perpetuate embedded biases and generate even more tainted data to feed a vicious cycle. Because most risk assessment algorithms are proprietary, it's also impossible to interrogate their decisions or hold them accountable. The debate over these tools is still raging on. Last July, more than 100 civil rights and community-based organizations, including the ACLU and the NAACP, signed a statement urging against the use of risk assessment. At the same time, more and more jurisdictions and states, including California, have turned to them in a Hail Mary effort to fix their overburdened jails and prisons. Data-driven risk assessment is a way to sanitize and legitimize oppressive systems. Marbury Stolly Butts, executive director for law for Black Lives, said on stage at the conference, which was hosted at MIT Media Lab, it is a way to draw attention away from the actual problems affecting low income and minority communities, like defunded schools and inadequate access to healthcare. Quote, we are not risks, she said. We are needs. I know. What do you think about that?
Oh, he dropped off.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. Preem, what did you think about it?
The irony, the irony, the irony. So this AI thing is throwing the wrong people in jail, or is miscategorizing them as criminals and they're not, or something.
Hmm. Well, it's creating a score factor that says because you are low income and you jaywalked or you shoplift, therefore you must deserve X sentence. Basically, they're trying to use that to determine predictability on whether or not they should put you in jail or should they let you go. They're waiting for a computer to give them an answer.
Like we said, I mean, ain't no fun when the rabbits got the gun. I mean, it's. I mean, isn't that what it's doing, a probability analysis or whatever that thing is called? I mean, isn't that accurate? Isn't that relatively accurate? I mean, if you're going to program something, just dump a bunch of data in it, and it's supposed to spit out the probability. Okay, there's X amount of probability of this happening, that happening, and and we make decisions or we do things today based on that. Then should we have an issue if it says, hey, based on 100,000 cases of likelihood, people X, if these conditions are X, then the probability of it being Y is so and so. I mean, it's just going off probability and data. I mean, and if it's accurate, it's accurate, right? So the problem is that it's accurate, or people just don't like what it's saying. Are they disputing the accuracy of it?
What they're disputing is the bias in the algorithm itself. So low income people in urban centers tend to be black and brown, or what they consider to be minorities. They're
Mhm.
non-white. So what happens here is every little infraction, or what's considered to be an infraction, actually leads to more analytics that drives a decision that's unfair, right? So,
Um. Uh.
and it
uh
also uses artificial intelligence to actually grade people based on how they look as well, right? So the people who tend to be more affected by this are darker skinned people, or more melanated people.
mhm. I mean, it's unfair. Two things can be right at the same time. I mean, but is it accurate?
Not necessarily, because the math is accurate, but the
Mhm.
application is not. Application is not. So let's say, for example, you got pulled over because you were in the landing zone for a bus, or because you parked in front of a fire hydrant. And then let's say also that that same week you might have ran a red light. And then let's also say that you might have been riding in the breakdown lane on the highway. The algorithm may say, because of these three infractions, you deserve a higher punishment. So the over policing of certain areas based on the risk assessment tool, based on the analyzation, causes for more over policing in certain areas that then draws more infractions on said individual, that then draws a conclusion that said individual needs to be treated a certain way. I don't know if, as somebody who's a technologist, I'm not sure if I agree with, with that sort of system of policing.
But I mean, but it's just going off of the inputs, and I mean, and the inputs are accurate, right? I mean, and if it's arriving at a certain decision, is it arriving at the same decision that a human being would? If a human
No,
being said, okay, if you did this infraction, this infraction, this infraction,
no,
then we're gonna penalize you with X. Would a human arrive at that same conclusion?
no.
Then the problem is with the programmers, because the programmers aren't programming it properly, then, right? Because the inputs are the inputs are the inputs.
Yeah, but the inputs are being designed in a way. If you compact a whole lot of low income people in the area and you over police that area, you're going to draw up a lot of infractions. So your math may be right, but the application may be wrong.
But so because so is this saying that if low income people are packed in an area, does that automatically mean there's going to be infractions?
That's what the program is saying. That's what the artificial intelligence is saying.
But if the artificial intelligence finds that I mean that I parked in front of a fire hydrant, either I did or I did not. So I did, right? I parked in front of a fire hydrant if it has that.
Hmm.
And if I ran a red light, I actually did run a red light, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so if all these infractions are accurate, then a decision that it's arriving at is based on fact.
It's based on metric, not facts. Facts is different.
Well,
Facts is something that's correlated. Facts are correlated from other forms of sources, but metrics is what's driving the policing, right? So let's say if you over police the white area, right? In Boston, I think like a
mhm,
dozen people a year are hit by cars because they were texting and walking, or they were
mhm,
listening to their white earbuds. They had white earbuds in the ear. They wasn't paying attention. Got hit by a trolley.
mhm.
What if we started over? What if we police those areas in the same way you police the black and brown areas? You would get similar infractions, but you're not doing that because the risk assessment tool says that that's not the place that you should be at.
Because why?
Because it's focusing on a certain area based on prefetched data. So if they're looking at past history, then
Hmm.
the past history says because of because of the history of criminalization or over policing of this area, then this much data is said to be true. So therefore, you should actually give this person X penalty. But it disproportionately targets those who are of low income because the people who are low income tend to be over policed, whereas the higher income, where the wealth is calcified,
Hmm.
they're not being policed at all. And if they're not being policed, then you can't get a metric. You can't get a proper metric out of it because they're not being stopped
So
or they're not being pursued.
what exactly is being over policed?
Over policing would be micromanaging an area of people. So that means every little step that they take, you're drawing up an infraction for them. So standing on the corner is
Hmm.
considered to be obstructing traffic by law, right?
Hmm.
But if you go into a predominantly white area where they're congregating outside in front of a bar, no police officers are actually going after those people because they're not policing that area. So the
So
same infraction that would be applied to a white person is not being applied to them. It's only being applied to the low income areas because the previous historical data that is being
mhm.
given to the artificial intelligence is saying go police that area because of 20 years of collected information, but the other information from the white area is not being fed into the machine, so therefore you don't get the result that's accurate.
But you also have police in low income white areas as well. You have police in low income Asian areas. You have police in low income Hispanic areas. You have police
Not
in
necessarily.
high income black areas. You have police in high income white areas. I mean, police out there, God willing, on every corner.
Not necessarily.
Hmm.
Not necessarily. So if you if you went to a financial district or some other working class district, right? Where working class Americans are, middle class Americans are, you're very unlikely to see police out there um, micromanaging those people because those people would never tolerate that in the name of national security, right? So a white guy with a neck beard and skinny jeans and drinking caribou coffee, coming out of Starbucks is not going to be policed in the same way that Muhammad coming out of the mosque with his thick beard
So
and his turban wrapped around his head.
so if we have a finite supply of police, we'll kind of maybe get on the topic, but if you got a finite supply of police, would you not want them in the areas to where a majority of the crime is happening? And then should you not discriminate as to what type of crime you're going to put that where you're going to use that finite resource of police officers towards? I mean, if I have X amount of officers, am I gonna should I not have them addressing or being around some of the more violent, some of the harsher crime areas versus the ones that are kind of like, okay, yeah, it's a crime to jaywalk, it's a crime to kind of smoke pot, it's a crime to be publicly intoxicated, but shit, there's bullets going through cribs over here. There's people getting, being lying dead in the street over here. So where am I going to put this finite resource at? Am I going to have them chasing a bunch of drunks or trying
Yeah,
to
but they're
figure
not
out?
making that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's not a human making that decision. It's actually artificial intelligence that the government is using to make that decision. But the artificial intelligence is only as good as the data that's being fed into it. And if it's only being fed 20 years of historical data, then it's going to make correlations based off of the historical data
Of course.
um, that was uh, um, unsanitized to begin with, right? So there's a lot of past convictions that should have been turned over that has not been turned over, right? So you got a lot of people sitting in jail for minor offenses or even false offenses, right? So I mentioned earlier to Lionel that there was a Asian woman who lied on her application that she was a highly educated Harvard person and worked in forensics, and she tainted a lot of criminal cases because she was mishandling the evidence, and when they found out this, they had to let all these people out of jail because all of the cases were basically slanted.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you feed that sort of historical data without sanitizing it into an artificial intelligence system, then what happens is the policing doesn't change because the risk assessment tool says you need to police this area based on what happened in the 1990s and the early 2000s. But what they don't talk about is how those people were falsely accused and how cases were poorly mishandled. That context is not being injected into it.
Yeah, but I mean, because honestly, I mean, it's not in the grand scheme of things, it's not relevant. I mean,
really?
yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it really isn't relevant. I mean, if you want to really get down to it, where are the crimes happening? Who's doing the crimes, the serious crimes? And then what happens if you just say, you know what, screw it, we're just not going to put any police there because we're damned if you do, damned if you don't. What happens? The crime continues to escalate and escalate and escalate. So if you put police there, then you got why are the police over here? They're over policing us. If you take the police out, the crime rate goes up, and everybody's like, "Where's the police? We need more police around here." Just
but how is that being? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, just stop the criminal activity.
Yeah, but if that's the case, right? If we're gonna say that it's criminal activity, and we're using these artificial intelligence tools, then you would actually have to go to a college campus where that's predominantly white and stop policing those areas too, and actually give the same exact harsh penalties. But they don't do that, right? Because a lot of those cases are not being reported, so therefore you're not getting accurate data fed into the artificial intelligence.
Yeah, again, I mean, you have to discriminate. You have to discriminate. You have a finite resource of officers or whoever or police task force. What are we going to police with this finite resource? Okay. I mean, you have crime over here, but if you weigh it against the crime over here, where should we apply these resources? We're going to apply them over here. I mean, it's just, I mean, it's what I would do. I mean, I would absolutely discriminate.
But then what happens when they're looking for a guy in F-150 who matches the description of a darker skin, middle class, middle age, black male, and then we'll say Preem gets pulled over.
Yeah, I don't.
That stop has to be reported. And that stop gets reported and fed into the AI, and now the AI says, "Oh yeah,
yeah,
melanated man."
I don't believe in boogeyman anymore, man. I mean that right there is a when it's framed like that, not necessarily coming from you or whatever, but I mean it's a boogeyman argument, man. I mean it just doesn't. I've been pulled over and let go more times when I should not have been let go. In the sticks, in the boondocks. I've been pulled over more times and I should not have been let go and been escorted home. So, I don't lose any sleep over the boogeyman because I actually, I mean, it doesn't go down like that. Only in nightmares. Only in nightmares. Now there are exceptions here, there, whatever, man. But folks just got to stop being so scared and believing the boogeyman. Okay, I mean, we have to discriminate again, even with what we choose to even deem to be relevant. To me, again, to each his own, but to me, that whole thing, it's a non-starter. With somebody like me, it is absolutely irrelevant. It is a non-starter. It is a non-issue. Matter of fact, it doesn't even exist. You might say it doesn't even exist. I'll go ahead and categorize it like that and say it doesn't exist. Because all that is, it serves as a distraction from real issues. at things that folks don't want to be accountable for or take responsibility for.
I've got stopped by the police.
Say again?
I got stopped by the police and was threatened to get stabbed by the police. I wasn't doing nothing but walking to the store.
Yeah, I mean, I've had homeboys who've been beat up by the doggone cops. Yeah.
So, but why?
Well, I mean,
why would they stop me?
Yeah,
I was 19 years old and threatened to stab me.
Yeah, and again, I've had homeboy. I've been pulled over by a cop who was popping his gums, and I had to hold my tongue. And
But
sometimes,
why? The
listen,
question is why?
listen, because it comes down to that individual. Individuals have bad days, they have bad nights. I've had issues with cops at nightclubs here, there, whatever. Who, if I
So
wasn't
you're
in my
saying
right,
that cops have more bad days for black people than they do with anybody else?
No, bro, no. That is an absolute myth. It is an absolute myth in my world. In my world,
but why? But why were we stopped?
Why were you stopped? I don't know.
That's the question. That's the reason.
Was this
again, fellas? Honestly, fellas, the whole cop thing in Black America, I just say, just forget about it. It is a boogeyman argument.
But how can you forget about it when it's thrown in your face? I'll give you another example. I was downtown Chicago and I was 20 years old.
It's not relevant, bro.
But let me give you another example. I'm going downtown. I forgot what school it was downtown Chicago. Late at night. Well, wasn't late at night. They were still open. I asked them to use their bathroom. They let me. And when I came out, they said, "Don't come around here no more." So so if we were to forget it like you do, and it's
forget
still,
about it.
But it's still being put in our face, we just continue to forget about it.
Forget about it.
Just when you say take the cops out the neighborhood and it continues to escalate. What if we forget about it and it continues to escalate?
At least, I mean, we just have to grow up and grow out of certain things. I mean, you're gonna have you will have people will have. Look, hear me out. You will have you have a bad experience with a cop doesn't mean if you're gonna negate all cops because of a bad experience or two bad experiences with a cop, then that means nobody would be having sex anymore because the women have had bad experiences with men. Men have had bad experiences with exes and women. So do you just throw the baby out with the bathwater and be like, oh, all women are bad. Oh, all men are bad. People have bad experiences with employers. Do you just say, okay, no, I'm not going to go ahead and work anymore. You have bad days. Forget about it. Move on. It happens. It's irrelevant. It's a part of life.
Prominent in Black neighborhoods than they are in more other
listen, it happens. It's not a big deal.
So you're saying that that's a boogeyman that rainy days happen more in Black neighborhoods. So just to get that.
Yeah, honestly, get over it. Get over it and move on. I mean, if you get people get over it, everything else. They get over everything else, but they just can't get over that. It happens. It's life. Nothing is perfect.
So the problem is when you have when you allow something like that to happen and you say you should just get over it. I mean, this person has a badge and the will to kill you, the will to take your life based on how they felt for today, right? And you take the artificial intelligence that they're using to leverage this.
It's not
justified because. Oh, really? Go ahead.
Yeah. It's not. Listen, it ain't that shit. People ain't waking up thinking about black folks like that. They just ain't. The Negroes is not that important, not that relevant. People are not thinking up of scheming ways that we're going to create this supercomputer, this Skynet mastermind, so we can kill more Negroes on the street. That does not exist, man. That is a fantasy.
I think you took this the wrong way. We're not saying that they're doing this to do that. We're saying that the information per historical precedence, the information that's being put in it is coming to that conclusion. We're not saying that there's building this massive, grandiose technological scheme to kill people.
And that's why earlier I was asking, I was like, okay, so it's coming to these conclusions based on the inputs, right? And it was like, yeah, okay, it's based on the inputs. And I was like, okay, well, are the inputs accurate? Yeah. And would a human with those similar inputs make the same type of, would a human arrive at that same conclusion? Yeah, I can remember the answer that I went and got to that. But if the input is accurate, the input said if these things, if you know, if this and this, if you have this and these, if you have these three factors, there's an X probability that you're going to have this outcome, or X probability that this is going to happen. And all I'm saying is, would a human arrive at that same, you know, at that same conclusion? So that either the data is flawed, or either the input is false, or the programming that's giving it the calculus or the math to kind of how to, you know, the formulation. One of those things is off. So where is it off? Because all the AI is doing is just doing what it's being programmed to do, what is being told. So where is the error coming from? And can you call it an error? Mm-hmm. If a human would arrive at the same conclusion?
No, a human would not arrive at the same conclusion, because we know that when you have racial bias in the system, from a human standpoint, that black police officers actually treat black and brown people much differently than how a white police officer would. We know this historically, right? So we know that many black police officers treat black and brown minorities differently than how white police officers treat black minorities.
How so?
There's more arrests or more willingness to arrest or cause conflict from white officers than you have from black officers.
There's more arrests from white officers, or the willingness to cause conflict.
Yes.
I mean, how does that translate? I mean, are you saying that more blacks are arrested by white officers because there are more white officers than there are because there are more white officers on a police force? Yeah.
No, because of the interaction between the two.
Yeah, because
the assessment by a white police. Well, the assessment by a white officer is to arrest, whereas a black officer is to not. Right.
Well, I mean, not. Well, if they're going to be arrests and you have a majority of people making the arrests are going to be white, yeah, they're going to be more arrests by white officers because there are more white officers. And the only people that
I know were you stopped by
the only people that are capable, the people that are capable of arresting are officers. And if a majority of those officers are white, the people that are doing the arrests, and only officers can do the arrest, are going to be white because the majority of the officers are white. True, I agree. I mean, a firefighter isn't going to arrest anybody. A nurse isn't going to arrest anybody. A police officer will. And a majority of police officers are white. And that's what all police officers do. They arrest. They're the only ones who arrest.
I know. Was the officers who approached you, were they white or black?
Nah, in that situation, they were black.
Now, I will say this: for the handful, I haven't seen many, but the handful of police brutalities that I've seen have been black officers. I've seen them straight stomp down brothers. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and nobody was
this in Georgia?
Yeah, this was like by the Red Dogs. Anybody back in the day know the name the Red Dogs? By the damn Red Dogs, nobody fucked with them. They were like a renegade group of damn cops.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and those are the ones that would take your, yeah, man. They were dirty cops, man. They were dirty cops, you know. But but that doesn't say that all cops say, listen, I got no problems, officer. I love police officers. You know, when I need them, I hope there's one there. Um, and it's not to say that I want to encounter. I've encountered some bad ones with some flip miles. I just hold my cool. They have bad days too. They wake up with a chip on their shoulder, and it's unfortunate. They got a gun on their side. And some of them have a superiority complex or an authority complex. Some they can be assholes. But assholes comes in all types, shapes, colors, races, genders, sexual orientations, whatever. And sometimes they just happen to have a badge.
Right. So, and that goes to my point, right? You have a predominantly black and brown environment that is being over policed by white individuals who then write up infractions on those people and then feed that data in. What happens is it creates a historical timeline for the AI, and the AI doesn't understand why it's happening. It just says it's happening at this time, at this date, at this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to focus your policing on this, when in fact, if you police your white areas the same way that you police black areas, you would see that there's very, very similar infractions being made.
Okay,
I mean, you can go on YouTube right now, and you can go on YouTube right now and look up a lot of road rage videos, and you see a lot of white males who are angry and not being arrested.
What does the data tell you about violent crime in this country? What does the data tell us about violent crime? We have data that tells us where it happens, who the perpetrators are, who the victims are, the demographics of the area, the education level of the area, the medium household income of the area. We have all the data. And what does the data tell us about crime in this country? And you can
Where's the data being recorded?
You can take crime exactly, and that's why I say you can take crime at every level of the criminal scale, if there is such a thing, from it being reported, called in, from arrest being made, from the crime happening and nobody even reporting it. What does the data tell us that where crime happens in this country? That's where you want to have your police. And if you have a lot of crime in certain areas, yes, you over police those areas because they have a predominantly higher rate of crime than other areas. And the type of crime that you want to direct those limited, finite resources to. So you over police it. You have to.
If you over police the white area, they won't tolerate that. That's been proven. After 9/11, when people were being stopped and having their cars searched and being pulled over, white people did not tolerate being over policed in the name of national security. They wouldn't tolerate that. You wouldn't be able to walk. You wouldn't be able to go through Manhattan and pull over some white guy who worked at J.P. Morgan because you were concerned about enforcing laws for jaywalking, for example. That white man would never tolerate that.
Mike, what does the data tell us about the crime?
The data doesn't tell us anything. It just says that there was something that was reported. It doesn't tell you that it was true. It doesn't tell you that was true. How many times have we seen a lot of black men have drugs planted on them or guns planted on them in crime scenes where it was false? We saw that with the body cams. Officers getting caught on camera, falsely putting items on what they consider to be offenders.
Okay. So again, We aren't going to talk about any statute. We aren't going to talk about where the crime is happening, the city with the highest crime rates, the highest homicide rates, who's doing, because I mean, this isn't just where people are policing. These are like bodies. So even if you don't even put the police there, you've got a body. Where are the bodies? Where are the homicides? Forget about police. Forget about all that. Where are the bodies popping up in this country? Where are they? We have the data. We have the stats. We know the answer to this. Not about people getting
we know
filed.
we know what's being reported.
Piling up?
We know what's being reported. We don't know exactly if the data is even accurate. We don't know that.
Mike, we got bodies. We got bodies. We got bodies.
That's what they said about That's what they said about Whitey Bulger in the Winter Hill gang.
Mike,
they had a whole lot of bodies too. Do you think that they're pulling over Irish people to this very day? I don't think so.
Mike, where are the bodies? Where are the bodies piling up? Where are the murders happening? Who's doing the murdering? Who's doing the killing? What do the victims look like? What do the perpetrators look like? What's the demographic of the area that is happening at? Take all the cops off the street. Where is the violence happening? And so you just completely ignore that data. Just ignore that input. Don't put it anywhere. Don't say, okay, if this subset of data matches this completely different town, but they have these things, they have these similarities or these things in common over this part of Texas, this part of Tennessee, this part of Maryland, this part of Georgia, this part of New York, this part of California. You find similar characteristics, similar data points. You mean to tell me that you aren't going to be like, if these things are true, there's a higher probability that crime is going to happen because we're finding it. If we find it over here, high crime rate. We find the same subset over here, high crime rate. Again, I mean, ignore it if you want. You know how I feel. I just say let the shit burn. Give it up. It's a wrap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a wrap. Take the police out of there and have the police figuring out jaywalkers. Put a fence around it. Let it burn. Let the genocide happen. Let the purge happen. Who cares? Who cares? Because nobody cares. They don't care. Let them kill themselves off. Why not?
All right. With that being said, we're going to shut it down for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. We have episode 131, which is geopolitics on Wednesday, and we will see you then.